Well met. Welcome to the Paladins Premier League. My name is Tom Battinger, and I'm joined here by the illustrious Dulcin.
Illustrious. I like that.
Me too. And I like Thursdays every now and then.
It is Thursday.
But it's better when Thursdays have matches like we've got today. We're going to take a look at some of the best today. NIP will play against Virtus.Pro, and then later today we'll see Navi take on Kenga. But Dulcin, as we get into the day, what are you most excited about with respect to this first matchup?
Looking at NIP, the last time we got to see them was their loss. They lost to Envy, and it was the one loss that they have. That is no longer a 0 in the loss column. So seeing how they bounce back from that is what I'm most excited for. I mean, they definitely have the edge coming into this, but it's going to be interesting to see how they've adapted coming from their last loss. And then Virtus.Pro as well. 4-0 was the last time we saw them. They lost 0-4, I should say, to Space Station Gaming in a convincing fashion. So both teams bouncing back, one from their only loss, one from a convincing loss last week. But that's what I look for, the reaction from both teams.
Virtus.Pro is certainly the team I'm looking at. Ninjas in Pyjamas, as you mentioned, no longer infallible, are 10-1, but that plus-minus is insane. Really what I'm looking for right now is we see there's 10 in the win column.
Yeah.
Whole bunch of 8s, maybe a 7. We're looking at Virtus.Pro to kind of say, what kind of team are you? Are you a top of the crop team? Are you a bottom? Or are you really going to be somewhere in that middle? And it's all up to Nit pretty much, because that's who this squad Virtus.Pro is going to go head-to-head against. And frankly, as we mentioned, NIP are the top dogs. They are the permission givers. If Virtus.Pro is going to be a top-of-the-line team, or excuse me, a top-of-the-pack team, it's going to be if NIP allow them to be.
Right. No, and that's exactly the way to look at it. I mean, top to bottom, they have a star-studded roster. Diggy Dog is the guy that I kind of turned my eyes to today. Of course, Bittner, flexible player, pop-off type of guy. Alex as well, very tried and true, very flexible. But Diggy Dog has almost had a breakout kind of performance over the last few weeks in and of itself. 2.3 KDA, 41-10 win-loss. And it's because he fits so well into this current meta, the meta of aggressive off-tanks, and Diggy Dog plays it, well, perfectly most of the time. You get him a Khan, you get him an Ashe, you get him an Atlas. It's going to make the other team uncomfortable regardless, honestly, of whatever the rest NIP are doing. So if they're able to get him on, honestly, one of those 3 champions in any of these games today, I'm nervous for what it means for the enemy team.
I mean, when we look at Ninjas in Pyjamas, I think legacy. These guys, Burr's been around here since minute 1. Diggy Dog, one of the first players to actually move continent, right? He came over to Europe from Australia to go ahead and play, and all of a sudden now he's part of this sort of unanimous wrecking ball of Paladins prowess. Alex. Right here for Ninjas in Pyjamas. A very versatile player here, and a big part of what has allowed NIP to really be so dominant, in my opinion.
Yeah, and he's very similar to Bittner, honestly, in the way that he's very flexible. You can't really ever guarantee. It's hard, honestly, in picks and bans. You see these picks come out, and you're like, all right, well, Alex or Bittner could play any of these champions. So he's flexible in that sense. He doesn't so much have a flair for the crazy like Bittner does. Sure. Bittner will, pop off and have, triple evil mojos, quadra kills, all those sorts of things. Alex had a 38 kill performance on a Vivian, but it was like so methodical. It wasn't like every fight he's flying in quadra kills. It's like, all right, he finds, 2-3 kills, and it's like a grinder. So that's what I expect today.
It's all part of the machine. I mean, when you look at a team like NIP, right, for a team that's so incredibly dominant, it's one thing to be a top of the crop team and kind of win most of your games, but to win almost all of them, you've got to have a special real combination. And I think the duo DPS, what we see on NIP, is fantastic, because you've got Bittner that's got a flair for the dramatic, and he's going to absolutely put up those 20-30 spots. And then on the other side, you just got tried and true, respectable, gonna hit the grind every time, Alex. So you've got the potential to hit the grand slams out of the park, but you always know that your other DPS is just always going to provide a solid 8 out of 10. He doesn't need to hit a 12 if he's always running 8 to 9. And that consistency is really what's made NIP so consistent.
No, and that's a beautiful way of looking at it. Actually, I really like the way you frame that, because I mean, we've seen a few times where Bittner has a tough game. Yeah. And like Brightmarsh, honestly, if you look at that one game, granted Alex was taking all of the kills, so you can't look into that so much, but in a game where Bittner struggled to find as much space as he's used to having, you absolutely said it correctly. Alex can kind of fill that role. and make the other team uncomfortable, because you can't always rely on one guy. You can't always rely on Bittner. Honestly, NIP, it's hard to point out who like the carry is in this team because they're all so good.
That's the big point. Like I said earlier, NIP, this is legacy. Some guys have been here for a long time, and one of them, Bird, he's been here the longest. We're going to talk to him right now.
Go. Thank you so much, guys. And Eric, you feeling prepared for this? Do some VOD review? Did it go well?
I mean, yeah, it wasn't as good as hockey, but it was all right.
I'm sure it was great. I'm sure you guys really got a lot out of it. From your VOD review, what would you say that you really learned about this VP squad?
I think we learned that we need to play better, and we can be a better team. And we didn't actually watch any VP VODs.
Fair enough. When you say play better as a team, what specifically are you sort of getting at?
I think, I mean, there's a lot of things that go into it, but I think it's mainly Alex that needs to hit more shots. That's the biggest part of it.
I think we can all definitely agree on that, Alex. You know, and maybe if he did more interviews, he might, you know, find some synergy there or something like that. This VP squad, though, they're a good team. You guys are a good team. I think this is a big one for you guys to grab going into the MSI. You want to keep that big old lead and keep that reputation going. Thanks so much for talking with us, man. We're going to get it back up to the desk and get ready for VP.
Thanks a lot, boys. Eric having a little bit to say. A little bit to say. NIP here, just at the end of the day, I mean, this is a confident squad. They know what's going on here. On the other side, Virtus.Pro, they know what's going on internally, but externally, how are they going to tackle NIP? And I use that turn of phrase very specifically because I definitely picture, you know, somebody trying to tackle outright a stand strong individual.
And the problem is the only tape we have to go off of in this case is what Envy did to beat NIP. And the problem is it was almost NIP beating themselves in the sense that game one they bring out like quad DPS and it didn't work out at all, and that gave Envy a little bit of momentum into the set. Then you have Random Noob, then you have Rock Monkey pop off, so you have individual player performances on Envy. Of course, they play as a team, but then getting in their own head on the side of NIP. So on Virtus.Pro, they're going to need the same thing. They need to, one, knock NIP early, because if you let NIP get any sort of momentum, you're going to have a hard time coming back from that. Dosups, I look at him, and it's when you're playing against such aggressive composition like NIP like to throw at you, you need a guy like Dosups who's able to stand on the point, find some kills, find some damage, and just be a rock, because what you don't need is somebody who can crumble under that immense. It's easy to say, all right, they're all coming at me right now, I need to turn tail, run on back. But Dosups is not that type of player. He's aggressive in and of itself, taking on Random Noobs. You see him running the Bomb King down there. So that's what they need out of Dosups today, sort of a tried and true, just do your job type of point tank.
Just like NIP, kind of, their two damage dealers create this sort of like one amorphous role.
Yeah.
I see the same out of Pule Ule.
Definitely.
And the front line for Virtus.Pro. When we look at what Pule Ule is going to do, he's a little bit more push and pull, going to be that aggressive player off of the point that allows him to really take advantage and create space for the rest of his team.
And that's a good way of looking at it as well. You can see here with the Ashe. And Dosups does a little bit of that as well, and it's an interesting dynamic where some teams will have one guy who will supplant himself on the point, and he'll just stay there, fight from the point. You look like a Na'Vi. They'll stick lazy on the point and let the rest of the team go out and fight. But Virtus.Pro don't really do that so much. They have both who will do both things.
Which is exactly what I meant by this sort of push and pull. You've got sort of like this maximum distance away from the point that you can be, and both players share the pool of resource, if you will, of that distance. So you've got Pule Ule, who is the designated off tank, and then of course on the other side, that's the main point tank. But we'll see them sort of share that responsibility, and I think that flexibility allows Virtus.Pro to find the wins that they do find. One of the interesting things is you did see their support player 29 and 29. This is a team right down the middle when it comes to game-by-game performance. And I think against Nip, which is interesting, if you look at Virtus.Pro's past performances, they're a team that really plays internally. Whoever they are across the way is a different story, but watching them kind of perform well and try to find these victories as they're in the middle is very interesting. Virtus.Pro, though, we got a chance to sit down, an extended sit-down with the Orange squad. Let's see what they had to say.
The first week we come in, we lose our first game. So like we lost to Kang in the first game we played. We lost to Knights the first game we played, and then we lost to Envy the first game. Nip was the only outlier, because Nip. But we don't really blame it on that, but we think whenever we come here, we're just not ready to play all the time, because of travel and stuff. I think that's partially it, but then Renegades, we felt so much better. Renegades is a better team now, but us as a team are feeling a lot better right now. I don't think it's weakness of NIP. I think overall as a team, Renegades didn't exploit anything. I just think NIP is falling off a little bit right now. I don't know if it's the meta, if their drafting's different, but Envy and I think Renegades too had good drafts going into NIP. I think that's the biggest thing we can exploit going to NIP is their drafting, and if we can catch up on the meta, get ahead of the meta, and they stay behind, we can easily win that game. If anything, when you're on top, when you're undefeated, the pressure is more on you. The pressure, like, you need to stay undefeated. When you're I wouldn't say we're an underdog going into NIP, but when you are the lower tier team, you have no pressure. You go in with no cares, you have fun with the game. Yeah. You prep normally. It's really no different, to be honest. Fish's mentality has been good overall. Coming from Fnatic, he had some rough experiences with some teammates. You know, they made some changes. On this team, though, he's really enjoying everybody. He's okay with being middle of the pack because Fnatic always lost at LAN. Yeah. So he's used to losing at times they should win. Right. So his mentality isn't that bad right now. With the supports, Furious changed her Cherish. They gave her the 300% increase. She can heal across the map now. The change has really brought her into meta. Damba and Genos are still the top healers, but Genos is getting banned a decent bit, so that's why you're going to see more Furia. What she brings to the table, though, is damage and her ultimate. Her ultimate's like uncounterable. There's nothing you can do about it. You just pop ult and you have 8 seconds, I think, of just pure movement speed and damage buff. It's insane. I think we're going into the day playing our game. I think that's the biggest thing. We're not going to try to exploit anything from them. We're not going to try to take away any of their picks. We're going to take our picks. We have an idea what they're going to do because of more champions coming back, of being unbanned. So we might try to play around that, but we're going to play our game and not try to exploit them any. We play more of a controlled style of gameplay. We kind of just chill. We sit on point. We have control of the map, and then we aggress when it's the time to. The biggest thing that's changed is like Akate. Early on in the season, he played a lot of Lian, and he's developing his Cassie play now. So we're picking more Cassie, more Shalins, more other picks that might be coming soon. It's something as a team we've been a little bit worried about overall the whole season. Flexibility is something we are practicing and we are honing in on our team because at the beginning of the season, we didn't play many champions. Puli just came off of like a month vacation. Hakate is known for a couple champions, and his other champions are good, but they're not like the best in the game. So he's been improving on that. Our tanks, they're developing their tank skills. Like that's one thing we focused on this whole season is just developing our flexibility. We typically really don't care about the opponent. If they have Nando, it's Nando. It's not a certain person. That's the way we see it. We never call names. We always call champions. We never look at names on the scoreboards. You know, it's small little things, mental things we keep to ourselves. We don't think about the other team. We focus on our play and what we have to do to really win that game. I would probably say 4-2, 4-3 us. It's going to be a close set.
Vex there reverberating what we said earlier. Virtus.Pro is a squad that just looks internally. Yep. They're going to pay attention to what they want to pay attention to and then find victories there. Tom and Dulcin here on the desk.
And they're a hard team to staple down, I think, because you pointed it out, actually, when we saw the plus-minus, they are dead even. I mean, they up to this point, they are a very good team, don't get me wrong, but they have performed the stat sheet, the standings show that of a literally you could not be more of a middle of the pack team in this case. They are dead even map wise. They're 6-5, so they have a winning record, but they're fifth. So it's hard to kind of staple down. Honestly, picks and bans I think are going to be pretty important today, making people uncomfortable.
Let's take a look at where we're going to be playing in our first match of the day. Virtus.Pro versus NIP. Ascension Peak, we will go. I do see that Bazaar is not banned out, so we might get a chance to see one of the newer maps here. But for now, Ascension Peak is where we'll start our combat.
And Ascension Peak is a map that Virtus.Pro, I think, feel very comfortable on. NIP has played on this map, of course. They've won on this map, of course. But Virtus.Pro tends to go to Ascension Peak a good bit. I know that on this map in the past, it's been a lot of Fasheko taking these outside 1v1s because, of course, the point fight is inside this big structure. There's statues. It's kind of a delicate dance that both teams do. And then every once in a while, you'll see Fasheko and the Blaster on the other team just dueling it out somewhere in the back end. So I think a lot of this match, if it continues to be that way, is how Fasheko can duel off with Bittner, duel off with the NIP guys and win those duels. If he's able to, I think Virtus.Pro could take this.
We'll certainly have to take a look at it. Bans so far, standard as we've come to expect. The Torvald too tanky, or at least too shieldy, so he'll be banned out. Makoa, nobody really dares mess with Makoa. Tyra banned out, that target a little bit too powerful. We've heard teams time and time again discuss it. I mean, it's just such a high percentage, and perhaps more accurately, it doesn't really. You're not really giving up anything.
True.
To just slam that target up there. So.
It's like the dedicated damage that Victor brings with extra damage amp for everyone else on your team on top of it. So that doesn't necessarily surprise me to see them taking Tyra away. I know that Bittner and Alex both can play Tyra very well. NIP taking away the Eevee, I think this is good because it's not one of Bittner's favorite champions per se. I mean, it's hard to really pin down what Bittner's favorite champions are at the moment. But namely taking that away from Fasheko, because what we so often see on this map is the Eevee versus the Maeve duel, as I was pointing out. So if they go the Maeve on the opposite side, the inherent up-down mobility goes in the favor of Eevee. So maybe putting Fasheko at a bit of a disadvantage if they go the Maeve route. But off tanks, aggressive, that doesn't change on this map. That's the meta. So getting Pule or Dosups on the Con, and I'm assuming Digidog on the Ashe, that's a good start for both teams.
Absolutely, and just looking at the pick so far, nothing too out of the ordinary, right? The Con first selection into the Barak and the Genos, very vanilla for a team that, I mean, no disrespect by saying this. I mean, this is vanilla pro. These are the guys that are just going to play standard Paladins. But that pro is very important. They're going to play the regular stuff better than most. And I think that's why they find themselves in the middle, because they are better than you at playing standard Paladins, but they are not a leader because they're following the meta, so to speak, right? So I think for Virtus.Pro, I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit of creativity here, but at the same time, if you're creative at the expense of wins, you can
are
say
not
middle
welcome here.
Right, and that's sort of the delicate balance with NIP, because if you get way too creative, NIP, they have a flair for the dramatic, as we've pointed out, but they can also play the standard lineup better than every other team in this league. So it's like you have to be creative, but in a smart way, a way that makes them uncomfortable. I like getting Hecate on the Leon here. She's in a spot right now where she's not an insta-lock for everyone, but if you're still comfortable on the champion, it's definitely a good pick. So getting Hecate and Fasheko on the Drogos, very good on Ascension Peak, utilizing that airspace, utilizing some of the archways and some of those nooks and crannies that Drogos can, is a very good composition. And then, of course, getting the Khan and Barrack for Pule and Dosups, that's just smart. Those are two champions, honestly, if they're allowed to get Khan Barrack all day today, they'll be happy with it.
Again, those two, the Barrack, a more aggressive point tank when you look at the comparison to characters like Inara, right? And we talked about how VP are going to be a little bit more aggressive in that position. And also, just touching on our conversation we were just having, a little bit, we asked for a little bit of creativity, and I think that comes by way of Hecate's Leon.
I agree.
And again, I said, be creative, but understand your team and who you are. And again, that's Hecate's Leon. I think this is the ideal draft for Virtus.Pro.
I agree.
If you could have one. That said, I mean, the larger question at hand, our job up here is to kind of break down the X's and O's and be very kind of big-brained about it. But I think there are a lot of Captain Obviouses out there that are sitting there in their armchair analysts just going, but Nip's still better, right?
I mean, Nip, I think, are better in this case, but it's going to be tough. They have very similar lineups. It's going to be tough to pick who wins this one.
I love how well VP are set up, but we'll see if they can take it. Casters, take it from here.
Thank you. It's been nice to see Tom on the Paladins desk. Yeah. Every time he's done it, I've been gone. So now I finally get to experience the magic. And with Dave and his PPL flamingo sock, that's just extraordinary.
Oh, it's so good. And we learned a flamingo fact too.
Yeah.
Shrimps.
Tell the yeah.
It was about them eating. They're pink because they eat so many shrimp.
Or plankton, I believe. Maybe it is shrimp. I don't know. Both sound good to me. Maybe not the plankton. I haven't tried it, but shrimp indeed. Put some shrimp on the Barbie. It's time to see if Virtus.Pro can take NIP down. But it's going to be a tough one here. No summer cookout. These two teams are going at it and obviously trying to take the win for themselves. There are things on the line, Kresnik, as far as placements. These teams are obviously a little bit farther separated in the loss column. But if NIP takes 2 losses this week, it could start to change things.
Yeah, I don't know if it would. I don't think they can get pulled out of the first seed at this point.
Well, if Navi win and NIP... Possibly.
It's possible. I don't know if it's going to happen.
Yeah.
This map right now, going into this, I think it's going to depend on how aggressive Nip can be on the right side. They want to be able to punish the Drogos up there, or they could alternatively, what they're doing now, play on the point side, just hide from the Drogos, put just Diggy there who can poke him down, get some pressure on him, and minimize his effectiveness.
Fishy up high too, Krez, which is important on the Drogos. You mentioned how critical that will be, and Tenor finding those 680 bolts from Cassie is going to be impactful too, because not your traditional hit scan. Akate gets real low. It looks like Bonker's out to chase him, but gets caught in between Doseps. As long as he can do this, I think Virtus.Pro's pressure is going to be unrelenting. Their main focus has to be probably finishing off this Dragon.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's so hard for them to push out, but they do have the point control. As long as Diggy doesn't get picked here, barely makes it out thanks to battering ram. But they can just hold the point as long as they have.
Whoa!
An air shot from Alex, letting them finish off Fishy. This means they can push in, and it looks like they might be doing that. Bonker slowing down Pule, trying to bust his shield down. You can't get through that easily in early game, though.
Oh, no. This just looks like collapse. The walls are crumbling. And Virtus.Pro have barely stepped onto the point. They might not have stepped on at all. Overtime just barely taken away. Fishy will be back here, but Tenor is alive and well. Alex finds another one in Bird. The support cleans up one. Bonker gets in on the action, and NIP off to a really good start.
Yeah, the downside to VP's composition is I don't think they really don't have a brawler to fight the point. I mean, Doe can only survive on point for so long, poking between the Inari getting pocketed by a Damba. He has a Geno Seal. That runs out eventually.
Yeah.
You know, the damage boost can only do so much into an Inari DR.
And we talk about just the efficiency of Damba and Inara, probably the best support frontline duo as far as keeping just yourself on the objective for as long as possible. But Barrick has his own tricky ways, brings a little bit more damage, and also the resets, which can be tough. Right here, Alex tries to reset with a wormhole, but unfortunately goes down thanks to Doseps on the Barrick, who will use his second rocket boots, actually. And now a minute 50 left. They're already 50% of the way through.
Yeah, an absolute brawl on spawn. Alex finding a great pick with the Ice Storm onto Max in the backline. It really opened things up, because once that damage boost, once that Luminary goes out, I mean, that's the whole point of their comp.
Yeah, and so just walk me through this. I mean, there's a lot happening here, but still on the push. NIP seem absolutely undeterred.
Yeah, I mean, they have a very aggressive diving kind of composition with the Ashe and the Eevee. And they were waiting on the side. Alex just kind of poking and prodding. He's like, sees Vex take a step too forward, they can collapse, go in, and they are just waiting for that moment.
And that's what they're trying to find here with a minute and 15 left. They're already 90%. Starts to say, do you start to question some ultimates? They've got the Dread Serpent from Maldamba, and Ashe goes down with the Assert Dominance. Nice Void Grip from Vex, but that means that Alex is just going to use his second blink back and use the wormhole. Akate's in trouble. 2 big shots. Can he hit that one? He gets back into base just barely, and now Fishy is on the scent. Pule cleans it up, so maybe a little bit of respite here on the defensive end for Virtus.Pro.
Yeah, VP, they're going to have to find and stop the dive before it happens, you know, because you can't set up from too far away. So as long as VP manage to find where they're putting the Ashe before the dive or find where Alex is trying to hide, they can stop the effectiveness from that.
And that sounds like what they need to do. And obviously, you look at the Dome Shield here. Doseps has that kind of, not get out of jail free card, but okay, panic button. Let's say that to try and hold things off. It's really up to Akate, who seems to just be pressured quite a bit by this left side, or I guess right side rotation from Alex. He's hitting a lot of long range shots. That could be so helpful when you're an EV player.
Yeah, they're trying to Bonker cut into the mid to catch up Pule, and they got to trade. It could still be good for NIP, but I don't know if they have the damage to burst through Doe's sustain. Doe actually getting a little bit too forward here. Micah caught in, does get picked off. Fish trying to help him out, but just constantly hitting that Ashe shield.
Unbelievable stuff there, and it's not just the shield. It's Diggy wiggling, writhing, and finding ways to stay alive, but alas, Akate and Fishy are back at it. This is truly two teams not trying to give an inch at all to each other, both with different objectives. and now coming in as a stalemate. It does feel like this was NIP's round, but Virtus.Pro make it out with a point.
Yeah, this is a pretty hard push. You know, considering the high ground ability to stay in spawn. Looking at the legendaries here really quick, the talents, nothing.
This is cool.
Yeah, this is really cool.
I like this.
Yeah, it is really nice. You know, anybody trying to figure it out.
So that's what Luminary does. That's why they pick them. Oh gosh.
Oh wow.
God damn it,
90% DR.
That's pretty good.
That's a lot of damage reduction on battering ram.
Yeah, seriously, that sounds pretty good. Jeez. It actually starting to make a lot more sense now.
Yeah, wow. Should have read up on that before I got here. Huh?
I know, jeez. You think you don't need to know, but obviously, I guess we can't get through this cast without having a little bit of knowledge about the game. Thanks for that one, production. Obviously improving constantly. That's what we like to do here. Big Mother's Grace attempt to just try and block off some of the damage. The Earthen Guard's not going to be alive for that one. And we'll be Fishy trading out with the front line, but he goes down right away.
Yeah, great shot by Doe. Great shot by Doe by Bidner, excuse me, to finish off Fishigo in the air. Just constantly trading here though. Bird alive on the point, I think, just trying to sustain.
Yeah.
Burn it out. There was a really good trades, I think, from VP there.
Yeah, Ule seems like he's definitely had himself around 3 kills plus the overpower earlier on. It's essentially 4 for the man right here on Khan. Storm of bullets, more like just a storm of damage, a storm of effectiveness is what he's bringing to the table.
Ton of cleaning up from Khan. I mean, the constant automatic fire, you're going to get a lot of confirms, and that's one of the values of Khan, you know, having that on top of a super sustainy body with self-heal, team heal, and that shield.
Bonker here again, using the Earthen Guard to just try to get in, but it's honestly getting depleted so quickly. Finally, they find a pick. Assert Dominance opens up the room on the left side, and Alex with a nice long-range rocket as well. Vex last round got caught trying to kind of support Doseps, but then being too exposed, and Diggy took advantage of it. And it's NIP biding their time and now pressuring out Fishekel. That hits mid-air. Alex is kind of on one right now. They need to somehow figure out a way to deal with this Eevee.
Yeah, and it's so hard to, you know, you have to find her wormhole point, but if she's far enough back, if she knows how to use her cooldowns, it's really hard to confirm unless you manage to dive on her. And their comp can't really get that forward that quickly. Fishigo finding her on the side, there's no way she's going to be able to get out of this. Great confirm, but the fear denies the touch.
Oh no, and Fishy caught in his own duel. And it just feels like we've seen this before. It was almost like watching FRZ God, and I believe it was, you know, and I believe it was actually, I want to say, might have been Tinner, might have been Fishy, but there was this kind of dynamic. Actually, no, it was Random Noob as well. It was like an Eevee made here on this map, just in their own isolated 1v1s, and the point fight's happening around them. This time, NIP still a little bit, not first to the race, but they end up taking the point at the end. It was a great retake from them as well.
Oh yeah, I completely agree. I mean, they were able to just find the targets, bully them out really effectively. And then Alex knew that if he just distracted Fish that entire time, the damage on the point, they could just block Hekate's damage, and there's not enough in the rest of the team.
You essentially played yourself right there, unfortunately, if you're Fish. But he's doing a good job. He's so pivotal to them that you can see when he takes plays off, the pressure really stops for Virtus.Pro. I mean, how else are they going to do it? Is Hekate, if we take a look at some of the KDAs here, is he having the same type of day that he needs to? Not at all. 2 and 5. Fishy actually holding up most of the bargain. And is this lineup, is this Hekate having a bad day? Is this just the matchup?
I think you can bully out a Leon as long as she's not holding on that high ground. If you can catch her on the low ground where she doesn't have that long distance slide, thanks to the boost from Manifest Destiny, you can catch her out pretty effectively. And that nerf, her damage output is a lot lessened after the nerf to Heraldry, the card that gives you the resets on hitting your presence.
Right. And I think at this point, it means that you have less wiggle room to be successful with it. Hekate knows that. He actually spoke about that with us a little bit, saying that, you know, you really have to choose. It's not just the spam thing. You have to be conscious about your effort with it. And right there, he's conscious and has some value attached to it right there as well. Good headshot. That'll make a difference on Alex, who has one of the lowest health pools, the lowest in the game at 1,800 on the Eevee. 30 seconds left, holding strong from the same position they defended, but NIP have 5 ultimates at the ready.
Yeah, we got to see how much they're willing to spend. Only 30 seconds before the end of the round, so unless this overtime is insanely long, it won't be at this point. We'll see what they want to spend. Looks like they are willing to spend the Ice Storm. Doe manages to live behind his barricade. Hekate catching Alex. Seismic Crash coming in. Doesn't manage to kill Pule. He's just too sustainy through that shield. Damage from Fishico. They have no one willing to deal with it. He's just raining down hell.
And this is beautiful stuff here from Hekate. Again, a defense. It's a lot of hectic stuff going on. But the simple fact of the matter is the Eevee ult is sacrificed yet again, as well as the Inara ult this time around. and nothing comes from it. So essentially a win on the side of Virtus.Pro. They get their point, they save their ults, and NIP sacrificed a few to try to get a 2-point lead. Does not work out that way, and now they've got another round to try it again.
Yeah, it does show their discipline, though. I mean, they were willing to say, all right, we'll spend Seismic Crash, we'll spend Ice Storm. Nothing else.
Yeah.
You know, if we don't get an immediate pick, it's not worth doing. And Ice Storm does charge very quickly. It's a more expendable ultimate when you have EV players of this caliber, when they're connecting most of their shots. You can see multiple Ice Storms in a fight if a fight goes long.
Right.
So I'm not surprised that would be the ultimate.
It's like the least valued one. I mean, as far as if you get something great, it could be a triple kill setup, but you know, it's not the thing you're going to live or die by usually in a team fight. It's really more isolated and based on the individual efforts of the Eevee, which Eevee is just an individual character that sometimes you send her off on her own to do her job, and hopefully she comes back with something good. Bonker this time trying to take high ground, and the trade's going pretty evenly, but Alex, you can see those shots hitting from halfway across the map, helping to add to it. NIP very conscious of how they want to operate this, but the Dread Serpent immune thanks to the CC immunity from the ultimate there and doesn't affect the con.
Perfectly timed overpower to get through that. And Diggy tried to help Tenor with his assert dominance, but he missed. He landed to the side. They managed to burn him down, and now Diggy's caught a little bit out of position. Fishy just raining down on him. Diggy managed to cut into the blue tunnel, but he's still just distracting from the fight and delays his own death.
And this is good, though. It doesn't mean that Fishy goes out and it spends too much time chasing Diggy. In fact, maybe that shoulder bash all the way to the back might have really distracted him, but it also would have put Diggy in an odd situation. And IP know they can lose this first part and then still come back and retake it. They don't have something like a Dread Serpent to completely stall out any touch, to fear someone, put them in a completely crippled position. They're leaning on an Enlightenment and a Dragon Punch. That should get wound up pretty soon as well to create some pressure. And Fisheko up in the sky, he's going to go for it. Who's he targeting now?
Probably Bonker. I mean, he's the only one with an ultimate left.
Oh!
The wall barely saves him, but he's still super low back there. If Fishy can put on this pressure, this could be good. They don't manage to touch because of the damage done to Bonker from the start.
And you know what? If it gets done, it gets done. Either way you slice it, the point was won, and it was based off of the pressure and the things that were resultant from that Dragon Punch. It didn't connect, but it forced Bonker to use a wall. It isolated his teammate's ability to touch through that route. It forced him into a defensive position when he needed to be aggressive, and then it wasted a lot of attention and energy. This time, Fishy's the one kind of playing Puppet Master with NIP, and it works out in Virtus.Pro's favor. 1 point away, they could be taking the first game off the first seed.
Yeah, and they look like they're in a solid position this time. Bonker coming in with his damage reduction on the Mother's Grace. Managed to push Hekate down, but Pule manages to stay up there. Dropping now to stay out. He can rotate back up there. The Cassio, though, he can't really hide. He can't really kite away. He's going to get burnt down by Bonker here. The NIP looks like they're in a dominant position again.
What I like, Krez, and you could talk a little bit about this, Alex's contribution and the way that we see off damage dealers and off flankers contribute to the main tank fight. Because sometimes it is about, you know, can you get me to where I've used my defensive cooldowns and my health is low. A nice overpower actually missed there. You could hear the sound cue go by. I'm not sure who he was aiming for. But how does that impact when a guy like Alex is able to add that meaningful damage while still doing his job on the side?
I mean, it's a huge thing, turning the main tank point. If you make your life easier for your point tank, I mean, you can get so much more objective time, which helps you in retakes. It helps you in tight overtime situations. It really is a massive impact when you do that.
Oh,
what a salvo.
wow. Yeah, great value there. And this could be another kill. I think Bird used his Slither, to be honest. Kate, actually, Vex going to do the cleaning up there. This payload still has some movement to go. Dosips, like the Barrack of old, hopping onto his mount mid-fight. Seems like he just was able to ride it through. No more of that, I forget what it was called, man. But,
what, the card to mount Equestrian?
Yeah. Equestrian. No more Equestrian here in Paladins. But our OGs will have a laugh at that one, as the game has changed in many ways. But 30 seconds left. That hasn't changed. They've got only a few more moments to try and push this through.
Yeah, VP trying to play really careful, giving a lot of respect to Bonker, hoping maybe some poke from Fisheko could turn the fight. But actually pulling up a Dragon Punch. Maybe that was the plan here, but there's no way he can get in with everyone so ready for him. Managed to buy space, though. Yeah. Bonker completely zoned out from that high ground. Diggy isolated in main as well. And Alex, what a prediction shot. Fisheko plays this character. He knows. He's got the distance down. Everyone runs the blink distance 5 anyway.
He's not even moving. He didn't even... Fishy didn't even look at where Alex went. And Alex somehow makes it out of that a really well-timed ice block, but Fishy knows it as well. Now it's becoming a chess match between both of them. There's the timing of the ice block that you anticipate, but now he knows that he can anticipate that. So now he may try to break out of it early. And if he does that and mess with the timing, Fishy's now going to know, all right, he's going to try to break out early, so let me shoot when he thinks I'm going to be waiting to shoot. And then Alex has to now make another adjustment. This was really a pivotal moment, though, in that fight, because Poulet's dead if that Dread Serpent hits.
Yeah, absolutely. Tons of ultimates spent in the same position, and Poulet, came out on top. The Assert Dominance whiffs, lands in the corner, manages to counter the Dread Serpent. Just really, really heads-up play. Actually, another note about that, about the Fishiko-Alex matchup. In preseason scrims, like before things started, it really does show, I think Drogoz has a huge advantage in that matchup.
Really?
I mean, the Eevee is constantly on the ground shooting up.
Yeah.
The Drogoz, it's so much easier to shoot down than shoot up. The Drogoz is way more mobile, I think,
and
in that sense.
You're totally right. I mean, it makes a lot of sense to me just from a logistics perspective. But I also just think that we've only really seen it change when there's somebody who has the caliber of Alex to be able to hit those mid-air shots. It's not something you count on. Good seismic crash from range, but no kills, and Bonker goes down. Dosips finds an early kill onto the opposite point tank. Big commander's grab shuts down the damage reduction. A Dread Serpent as a last resort, and they know it. But Dosips, he smells blood in the water like a shark. He's going for his prey. The snake whiffs, and no, one more shot, one more. He got to reload, and he takes down the support.
The possession, damage reduction, almost saving Bird there. Fishiko just pounding onto the tanks. This Dragon Punch, I think it might connect, and it does. Bonker taken down. VP looking really strong. They didn't need to commit to that seismic crash. He couldn't find a target. He went across the map. Alex couldn't make it in time, and Hecate survived.
And now the key is that Fishy has to stay alive. He's got to keep them on the zone. He doesn't have the Dragon Punch to push them back to be that threat. He's used it now, so the Rockets will have to be in the right spot. Bonker almost makes it back on the Inara, which should be the champion that gets there in the longest amount of time. And Hecate has to perform big imminence there. Can he find a way to get Diggy Dog off of this objective?
They can back up and buy some time. Don't might be a little forward. Great pick on Alex from the side by Fishy. Always in the right place this game. They can just back up. They can play safe. It's 57%. You can poke. You can re-heal, and that's what they're doing. They pick up Diggy on the side. Bonker's still raining down on Bird. What great stun, but it's not going to make a difference. This map's going to go to Virtus.Pro.
VP take down the leading team in the league. NIP falter in map 1, and Virtus.Pro have themselves out in the lead. And Hecate stands up, exhilarated that they were able to take one off what seemed to be the team who has been controlling the dynamic of the PPL.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, actually, I don't even know if Hekate's feeling it. He didn't dab when he stood up, did he?
Oh, yeah, no, that's a problem, actually.
I don't think they're in a good place at all.
You know, it's like an apple a day. These kids nowadays, a dab a day really is what keeps the doctor away. Fishy, he's
L's away.
Yeah, exactly. A Fishy a day keeps the Eevee away, apparently.
Yeah.
He had a fantastic round, a couple of great moments with the salvo, and obviously his impact seemed to be one that made a huge, I think, kind of change for the way VP was able to really apply pressure in those point fights where typically it had started out on NIP's side. Let's send it back to the desk and get Tom and Dave's thoughts on a game 1 that goes the way of Virtus.Pro.
Thanks a lot, friends. Good stuff out of Virtus.Pro, and honestly, a nice kind of change of pace for middle-of-the-pack team standing up against the Titans that are NIP. And as we looked at that one, I mean, really what I saw was Drogoz went to work. His utility, and I mentioned utility, understanding he's a damage dealer, but the way that he was able to find his damage, number 2 on the team here, the way that he was able to find his damage on the sides of the point really opened everything up.
And if you look at the damage charts, Hecate and Bittner cancel each other out, but then it's the extra 30,000 damage coming from Fisheko above Alex, so the blaster damage so heavily in favor of Virtus.Pro in this case, allowing them to win this game. But in reality, it was Hecate and Fisheko holding down the longer range damage, utilizing those flanks, the mobility. But the frontline battle as well was won by Virtus.Pro in this case. Poulet doesn't have the greatest slash line, but the movement and the positioning of the Khan and the damage coming out of Dosips this time around, 5 and 10 on Bonker, 4 and 10 on Diggy Dog. That's not going to win you a game if you're NIP. We talk about how important it is for Diggy Dog to create space and move forward, but he was not able to do that this game. Fisheko, 14-4 and 13. He was a big part of that.
I mean, really what we saw, Virtus.Pro, they had a difficult time getting there, but once on the point, they really were able to defend it. I think Fisheko on the Drogoz was really able, I said, like, kind of operating around the outskirts. Nobody can really get in the structure if Fisheko is constantly a threat, constantly putting people outside of where they want to be. And because of this sort of hover on the outside. That's really where Fisheko became, like I said, utility. He zoned players. Sometimes he zoned them by sending them all the way back since he got that big old kill, but really just out here zoning.
And this was as close to an entire team win from Virtus.Pro as you can get. But when we look at sort of the matchups, that was really on Bittner to deal with Fisheko on the Drogos in this case. Alex landed some good shots on the Eevee, but you're not going to see consistent 2, 3, 4 shots that are required in midair onto a Drogos if you're on the Eevee. Eevee has mobility, but it's quick blinks. You have the soar. Drogos has the consistent high up in the air mobility, and if you don't have somebody that can deal with that assuredly every single time, that's going to allow Fisheko to do exactly what he just did. It was really on Bittner on the Cassie, which is still hard, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, no, very.
But it didn't really come together. Fisheko was basically free-flying that entire game, and that helped Virtus.Pro net win number 1.
On the other side, I mean, Alex just didn't show up. So hopefully map number 2 might be a little bit different. Frog Isle, the real-life location. Actually, I wonder... Well, I actually wonder. Gormizer is on a
He might
trip.
be in Frog Isle right now.
Well, I know he's Costa Rica, so if he's on a cruise, he might swing by because you've got Costa Rica, St. Thomas, and Frog Isle.
Frog Isle, right?
All on that stretch.
I think he was. You know that you do the excursion things when you're on a cruise. I think one of the excursions is to Frog Isle, so I do. Nice. I think they're going to be there. They actually might be flying by this game as it's going on.
I hope there's some pictures.
I hope so.
Wow.
I hope so.
And I love
That's
this.
A respect band. That is
love that. Absolutely.
And Drogos, I mean, he's great on Frog Isle. That's a good band just as a champion, as far as a champion goes. But Fisheko, you can't trifle with him when he's on the Drogos. You can't. I mean, he's hard to play against on any of these mobility blasters.
It's actually interesting because I think that Drogos, specifically on last map, Ascension Peak, worked out well. AoE damage, pushing players off of the point, which is enclosed. So if they do get in, they're kind of just destroyed by his AoE, and really have a great job kind of dealing with him outside of it, as far as using that spin.
Right.
Here, it might be a little bit different, and I think 2 things went wrong for NIP. Fisheko looked great.
Yep.
And Alex didn't.
True.
Those 2 might be connected, but at the end of the day, I don't know.
So what we see here is a lot of doors now being opened because NIP are going to have the first pick here, and Virtus.Pro are in an interesting spot because snipers play a big role on this map, but we'll see oftentimes where one team will get a sniper and the other one will be banned out or just not picked at all. So it's sort of the dance of how you deal with the one sniper, because it might have been NIP. I'm trying to remember exactly who it was, but it was Kanga definitely playing. There's the dab. Sure. But Kanga allowed it might have actually been NIP.
Well, so with respect to these teams particularly, NIP and Virtus.Pro, do these guys like to play the snipers? Because some teams just don't. They don't have a sniper player.
Yes. I mean, NIP, I would say, are a little bit more open to playing the snipers on this map. Hecate is a great sniper player, but the Leon, the Cassie, that's really his wheelhouse. Bittner has had huge games on the Strix. That's his personal preference when it comes to snipers.
Right.
But Torvald off the board first. So this is where it gets interesting for Virtus.Pro because Khan's still around. There's so many frontliners still available. Ash is still around as well. So you can really bolster your front line right here with picks 1 and 2 if you're Virtus.Pro. But at the same time, that then leaves high priority damage dealers with a Torvald over to NIP. So I think Virtus.Pro sniff that out and they say, all right, we don't want to give up so much because there's enough frontliners left.
To take a life.
We can afford to give NIP a couple of them because we'll still have a little bit deeper of a pool to dig into. Taking Strix and Eevee is smart here.
I like what Virtus.Pro do here. They have the ball in their court as far as bans are concerned. Would they rather play against the Torvald and the Atlas? And frankly, I've got to agree with the Torvald assessment. I think whoever, either Torvald or Atlas, whichever one you don't ban gets picked. Right. I think Torvald's a little bit easier to fight into. You have to have a wrecker composition, which right now Strix and Eevee might have some issues with, frankly.
True.
But the Atlas is just so much more, I think, evergreen, one-touch all, that you can find a way to deal with Torvald. Atlas, a lot of times there's no counterplay, the giant wall, and so you've got some other conversations to be had.
Oh, God.
NIP hovering right now. The Khan and the Genos And Khan Torvald is that's a front line that people just don't like to deal with right now.
And then you put a Genos with it, so you're going to have the bubble damage amp, you're going to have the Astral Mark damage amp from the Genos. Damage amp is kind of the name of the game right here if you're NIP.
Yeah.
They've got their front line stapled down. Khan is going to be a good final piece to that puzzle, so it's what damage dealers they pair with that. The Kinessa's still on the board. That will explode some targets. With a Torvald bubble and an Astral Mark, Kinessa can essentially one-shot this Strix and the Eevee if you land your headshot. So Kinessa's still on the board. Not really in any threat of it being taken away because you're not going to do Strix, Kinessa, and Eevee unless they do. But getting an Inara here, I think, is smart with so much damage potential on NIP's side, getting sort of a tried and true, one of the healthiest, if not the healthiest champion in the game, just to chill on the point, bully out some of the frontliners from NIP. I think this is a smart play from Virtus.Pro as well.
A lot of tankiness if Virtus.Pro decided to go this way. The problem is, across the way, NIP even more resilient. A lot of time being taken here by Virtus.Pro as they think about the Ying and the Inara.
I like the Ying. I think the Ying provides a good amount of burst heal, which you kind of need to deal with burst damage, which comes with a Genos Torvald composition. And leaving that last pick open to a flex, because NIP here, they have to show their hand as far as damage dealers goes. We know sort of what composition NIP are going for. Very front-loaded, burst you down immediately type of composition, whereas Virtus.Pro, they still have one tank to play with. Ashe is still around. Barrack is still around, so there's plenty of options for them, which is why I liked, honestly, the way both teams are going with this. They realize that the tanks are now a dime a dozen in a draft where not all 4 of them are banned out. So getting the important damage dealers first opens the door at the end.
Is this too cute? So Kinessa selected here. NIP, as soon as Strix is taken, NIP know that they're going to go into Kinessa, but they don't have to take it just yet. They're set their final pick phase. They go Kinessa, and then they select the Jhin. Is this too cute?
The Kinessa is not.
Not the Kinessa, the
Xin might be. The Billow nerfs really hurt Xin, but he still has tons of burst on his side. So you look at NIP, what they're going to want to do is one shot with Kinessa and burst health bars down with the Xin. And they have the ability to do that. At the end of the day, I don't know how this Xin is going to get played given where Billow is at the moment. This is the first time in a long time he's come through in the PPL, so that's what I'm going to look at in this game. But if Virtus.Pro, if they can get their wreckers, if they can weather the impending storm that's coming from NIP, if they can slow this game down and deal with the burst that NIP have, I think Virtus.Pro, they have a lineup that could take this map again.
Very interestingly, I have to agree. You look at what NIP has across the way, and I love their draft until the Xin. That's a really big question mark.
That's a question mark, yeah.
You know, sometimes we just don't see characters. We don't see Eevee because there's a lot of different variables, a lot of extended circumstances. The player doesn't have it, but she's still strong. Just because she's not played doesn't mean anything. Xin, we will see. Can Virtus.Pro take 2 above NIP? Let's find out.
Well, it would be a really unique thing, wouldn't it, Kress? I mean, we've seen VP perform, but we've also seen them kind of falter a little bit, and especially against the top dogs. This isn't one you'd expect to go the way of VP.
Yeah, I mean, but I think they are a pretty mental team. Yeah. I think that if things start going badly, they can snowball, and the other way, too. I mean, minus the Hakatai dab joke, like, I'm sure they're in a very good place after that game, and I'm sure they're feeling pretty confident about this draft. I mean, Torvald is really strong in this map, but we really have some questions about Xin's effectiveness.
And it does feel like Xin is going to be the big conversation piece for NIP. Alex is very comfortable with Xin. Xin obviously was kind of left to the wayside because of something directly to do with Billow. And, you know, there are ways to be valuable with Xin while minimizing the amount of times you have to Billow. And especially on a map where it's more corridor and more like I'm on my side, you're on your side, like Frog Isle. So it feels like if you're going to minimize the impact that lack of time in the Billow will obviously have on you, this could be it. But Akate starts off really strong and finds early shot of both supports and gets 1 kill.
Yeah, I think this is a really good comp from Virtus.Pro in general. On this map, when you're playing against the Torvald, against the very aggressive flanker, you want 2 very strong tanks that can hold their ground. So the double main tank, Jeff, what a headshot, too, from Hecate. You can tell he's been here before, once or twice, as Virtus.Pro take the first round.
And he's just so confident. I mean, the way that he's playing, you know, his headshot almost will cut you off every now and then because that's the impact it has. It forces you to do something completely different. And it's my favorite term because its offense turns into a good defense. And they can't press you when they are constantly being pressed themselves. Finally, Bird and NIP find a kill. Headhunter charge for NIP on the Kinessa, but Hecate on the sniper, on the Strix, has been winning this battle time and time again over every single player on NIP.
Yeah, Strix has such a, I think he has a very large advantage in the sniper fight with the, I mean, 30% DR when you're in scope, you can't fight that.
He keeps cutting you off. He's got to know you're talking. Stop making all these headshots when Kresnik's explaining Paladins.
Doe actually walled up, I believe, and pushed Tenor in the middle of that and got the pick. So now Hecate is pretty free for the next second until Tenor's back, and I mean, he's taking good advantage of it, as you can tell.
And Fishy absolutely monumental on the Eevee. On Frog Isle, I've seen him have some of the best performances on Eevee I've ever seen anyone have on any map. And this guy knows what to do with this champion. That's why he was so astute at his positioning with the Drogos. And that's why he's winning that matchup there with Alex. A nice Ice Storm as well. It's probably going to clean up Bird. He might just jump off, but no, he gets his shield. And that's what Torvald does, baby. But he gets taken down again. Not quite, says Fisheko. Not today.
He got forced that way because of the presence, just the presence of the rest of VP. They just cap it, confirm. What good pressure from them. I mean, their comp is so brutal for this map. I mean, the early Strix Eevee picks really set the tone for what they wanted to do with the rest of their draft. And the Eevee on this map, she can struggle if she has to move forward, if she has to get close, because then she has to put herself in the open by the trees in places that she can get shot from multiple angles. But since they're just waiting back and saying, well, Hecate's better, he can just sit by the danger side, blink over, and spam down on the people that are trying to push.
One of the things that I've kind of looked at for the story arc of this week is we've got two of the top teams, number 1 and number 2, going up against pretty much number 4 and 5, right? Because Space Station's in front of them, and so is Envy, really, but we've basically got 4, 5, 5, 6 going up. But they're all within a few losses of each other, and especially Na'Vi. It's basically 3 losses to 6 losses. 4 of those teams are playing. Anything can happen. Do you think that there's maybe this element of expectation, because we talked to Tenor yesterday, more so on Kanga this week? I know they have to win, but I don't think Virtus.Pro was at the forefront of their mind because Kanga took SSG, you guys, last week to 7 games. They felt like the real dog to prepare for, but it feels like there's a totally different dog in this race, and Virtus.Pro are really threatening another loss on the NIP.
I mean, Virtus.Pro have shown, but in the past, I mean, they upset Na'Vi, right?
That's right.
The last time these exact matchups happened, they upset Na'Vi. Not preparing for them in a meta that I think they've shown to be decent in. I think that's a mistake.
And maybe, you know, because I don't want to say they didn't prepare. I wouldn't put any of that on anybody, but maybe just mentally kind of saying, you know, this might be our easier matchup. Even if you don't say it out loud, maybe you think it because of how well Kanga performed. Maybe kind of getting at Rude Awakening, taking a second to realize, wait, no, this is not a game that's in the bag at all. We have to overperform if we're going to win here.
Yeah, and overperforming is what Tenor's trying to do right now with 2 early picks onto Vex and Fish, and bullying out Hecate with it too, with that nice Headhunter.
Oh my god, they just won the point fight right there, and that's what a Headhunter will do, that's what a Torvald will do, and put both together. My goodness gracious, I want out immediately. Where's the Uber?
Yeah, we'll have to see the...
Take me home.
We'll have to see the retake potential here. I guess never mind as Hecate gets overpowered out. But early pick, that's exactly what they needed here. And with the double comeback mechanic, I don't think there's any real way they're going to be able to touch. I mean, Fish has to touch his Eevee, you have to move kind of very predictably through the air.
Yeah.
You know you have to go to point. If you wiggle it all in your sword, you're not going to touch. So one shot by Tenor basically denies all their hopes of being able to touch there.
I just want to say, everyone on broadcast, that it wasn't me this time who mentioned the comeback mechanic first. It was actually Kresnik. So just so you know, it's something that goes on in the minds of not just me, okay? I know I get memed for it, and I'm going to accept it. But
it really does change the dynamic
really
of
does
fights.
change the...
It really does, and I'm not just saying that.
I feel so vindicated.
No, it's okay. I'm here for you, buddy. I promise.
They just been making fun of me for so long. I'm just trying to tell them the mechanic.
Okay. Tenor's in a very strong position here on the tree. a lot of very good angles from here, but he's kind of open. He has to be ready for Hecate.
Yeah.
Won't die in one shot. Thanks to the Strix Kinessa matchup, he really can't one-shot you, so manages to get away, rotate to a new angle.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if he has True Grit on his build. It's actually a pretty big tool for the counter-sniping matchup. True Grit being, every time he hits a full charge shot, heals him for 400. It can put you past some break points sometimes. You know, you get shot once, you hit a shot, now maybe it takes 2 more to kill you.
Exactly. really important for that as well. It's where we see some of the earlier uses of health cards. A lot of times they're more for larger breakpoints now because really there's no identified back and forth as much as the two snipers who are just kind of staring at each other through their lenses. But this one, it's been pretty stompy from each round. NIP with a little bit of that comeback mechanic and then adding that pressure. It wasn't just that. It was their effectiveness. Tenor with 2. That has nothing to do with the point. And also the overpower on the retake, just completely nullifying any potential they had from VP. It's just fantastic play from him. And essentially kills 3 because he forces Akate out as well.
Kills 4, basically.
Yeah, essentially kills 4.
Too. Yeah, that's the thing about this map with the sniper matchup. I mean, if you're playing the sniper versus sniper, and your sniper gets pressured a little bit, or their other sniper manages to get a crazy pick, I mean, it's just over most of the time. Because then you're re-pushing into a set-up sniper, and your sniper has to find that position, find that angle. It's a lot harder that way.
10 and 2 on Alex. My goodness, this
Yeah.
man.
Zin's still really hard to kill.
I mean, nothing changed damage-wise. You know what I mean? Hyper Beam here, trying to just get somebody off for a cheap one. But they're going to be a little bit more of an expensive date. Virtus.Pro not settling with McDonald's. They want the steak. They want the pommes frites. Fisheko, he wants the grandpa. He takes down Torvald early, and that's already one in VP's hand.
Yeah, VP, they looked solid. I mean, they know they have to just wait. They have to just win these poke wars. And after finding that first pick, Doe probably a little scared having the Mother's Grace a little bit early. But Tenor can't find the pick. VP playing around the snipers really well. I mean, and you'd probably expect a team that likes snipers this much to be able to do that.
Absolutely. Puleoli actually finds Alex there, who was messing around with Akate, who's now found himself in trouble. Diggy Dog picks him up, but Puleoli finds another, and Dosips finds 2. It seems like Virtus.Pro's front lines are absolutely dominating here, as it seems like it will be a 3-2. We're going to go on a quick pause, because you could tell the action was too much for even spectator to keep up.
Yeah, it was
with.
Going through all the player cams. They just wanted to get all the reactions. Did you see that? The player cams were like...
Yeah, when a guy as good looking as Barrick starts to frag that hard,
I might need to
the amount of muscle, the amount of man meat that starts opening up.
You know, I thought
biceps.
I would be the one to say man meat on the cast, honestly. I thought I was going to be the first
one. You said comeback mechanic,
one.
I said man meat. I mean, at this point, we've all made mistakes.
The psychic link we have is actually incredible already.
Yeah. So, I mean, looking at that, though, it's been 2 back and forth, and it really has been determined on the sniper play.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Akate is historic. I mean, how long has Akate been sniping in games that you've been talking
Since
about? Right?
young baby, I think. He came out of the womb with
30% damage reduction in
30%
scope. It was unreal.
In scope.
You couldn't believe it. The doctors were impressed.
Yeah.
But I mean,
luckily it wasn't invisibility because that would have been really confusing.
Ma'am, do I have a story for you? No, he's always shown a lot of strong play.
Yeah.
I think on the snipers, and bringing that into VP for VP on this map in particular, I mean, it's showing in the dominance. I mean, Tenor had his pop-off moment, but I mean, Hecate has just been where he needs to be, hitting the people he needs to. And actually, another thing I wanted to mention, separate from the sniper play, is that they're also putting Pule on... Pule used to be a main tank.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, and they're running double main tank. I mean, Pule was historically a main tank.
But Sadak would take that off.
Yes,
role.
exactly.
Yeah.
And now they have a double main tank, and this is something that you would think, looking at their champ pools, that's something very comfortable for them. And I think it shows, you know, that their ability to just lock down these chokes. I mean, the Xin really, other than when Tenor popped off, the Xin hasn't really been able to get past the Barrick EV danger hold that VP have had.
And I think it's been great to see the way, even since last season, Doe kind of transitioned onto that main frontline role, which really has helped him to position as an anchor for this Virtus.Pro squad, because they've got, I mean, this, that, and the other coming in to try to mesh and create something new and novel. And they're one of the teams that we touted as with European representation, Latin American representation, North American representation, different languages, different cultures, different ideas of how to play Paladins, and all different experience levels, although all pretty high experienced players. How would that mesh? And Virtus.Pro have consistently gone and been better. They've worked on things that haven't been working from the beginning. And it does feel like it's starting to show here in a very important match that could determine the rest of the season.
Yeah, and it's nice that they've been able to click as well as they have. It looks like we actually are back into the game. Ooh, rough nullify there. That's one of the harder things for EV to deal with on that little pressure. Honestly, as the sound is here. We can hear Xin trying to pressure through main. Needs to stay close to his tanks nowadays. I mean, he can't really get away with pressuring as deep as he used to.
Right, and that's the thing. Because of the fact that you only have a second and a half inside the Billow, and you can get that movement speed up still quickly, but you just have the duration, you know, you're a little bit more vulnerable. And so that's where it does start to say you can't take as many risks. You can still be as effective offensively, but as you can see, he's going to pop out very quickly and have to use that counter. So maybe more of the counter play becoming more influential. A lot better with damage now, but also now it needs to be something that is really kept in mind defensively.
Yeah, well, the thing is about Xin is he's still a fantastic duelist. I mean, you still don't want to get into a 1v1 with his Xin without his Billow. He just can't get away with being a mile behind you like you used to. And you can see, like, he's still winning these 1v1s and getting this crazy poke damage.
Yeah.
And that's still part of his kit. That didn't go away.
No, and that's the thing that we all need to realize when it comes to these nerfs and changes. When you don't see a character just because they disappear, it's really a min-max league where people play the absolute best. And, you know, they rarely veer off into something that could be considered a lesser pick for flavor or for style or for maybe a very niche situation. They've got to be considered unanimously a very good champion, and nerfs can throw people off for a while and make them hesitant when especially so much is on the line. Right now, not a lot happening, though, Krez, and getting back to kind of the 50 seconds left, this payload hasn't moved from the point. NIP are essentially playing an offensive defense here and keeping them in their base.
A very aggressive zone. I mean, our team does this a lot. I think most teams kind of started to do it a lot. Yeah. It's a great strategy that teams have been doing recently, and my team in previous games, I don't know if I should mention that, but when I was on Selfless in the past, that was something that we would do in another game we played, where we would literally just zone you to your spawn and force you to use resources to get out. Like, if you're making them use resources in their spawn, that's a win.
Yeah.
Because that's resources they don't have when the fight will matter. You know?
Right. And that's the key here. Bonker's in trouble. That's a really good spike because it actually stops the pressure that Dosip was applying onto the front line. They know they could lose right now. Even though it's overtime, there is not a long distance to travel here at all. Dosip's feeling confident about using the seismic crash. He's going to stun 2, and they'll trade with 1. But Tender's in trouble. He has to use the headhunter. He's going to block it off. A big heal here. Could matter. Ying gets to him, but it's just a day late and $1 short. Diggy's going to clean him up, and it's going to be a most likely 3-3 final point fight to decide Frog Isle.
I'm actually really surprised about the ults used by Virtus.Pro. That seismic crash was, I don't know if they needed it. It was risky, especially since he stunned people that were out of the line of sight of the rest of his team. It is really important for that.
Need follow-up.
Yeah, exactly. You need follow-up, and Fish, I believe, had just died on the side.
Yeah.
Trying to pressure. So unfortunately, they won't have that ult going into this fight, but I believe they did have a few. Hopefully, once they can use a turn. But honestly, their composition isn't really based on ultimates.
No, it's not. And that's the thing. The way that they've won these fights, even in round 1 and in round 3, haven't been predicated on anything but Hecate finding a couple of good angles and Fish creating pressure that really puts Tenor on the back foot immediately. It's something that I really appreciate from Virtus.Pro. It seems like a lot of thought gone into this, and also the Dome Shield and the Life Exchange, that could be enough to win a team fight in itself.
Yeah, I just want to point out something. I just noticed that Quad Wrecker on VP. I don't think any of them started with Cauterize.
Wow. Yeah, that's a great thing to point out. Clearly wanted to make sure that the Torvald does not have any impact. Dome Shield there, what most likely is to save that right side flank, and now it will be 21% and counting. Sheko going to dive in, does not have the Ice Storm yet, and it's going to be Bonker who's going to look like he's going down. I don't see a way he gets out of this unless his team collapses, and they have. What can they make off of it? Bonker slides to the right, but Fishy finds Alex. That's huge.
And Alex managing to die there, and Pulik barely living too. He didn't die. Well, now he did, but he didn't die from that. Forcing him to come in, maybe that pressure could help, but Doe wasn't there to get cap time, so it's really just a moot point on this fight. No cap time getting done.
And Hecate finds a big shot there and stays alive. Good healing from Vex. Have they even used all of their resources? Yes, but the Ice Storm is starting to build. Hyper Beam is ready, but Torvald in a horrible position. Zen has the spike through time and space from Genos. You got to watch out because Bird can snipe you if you're caught looking.
Yeah, and if the Torv tries to Hyper Beam in the open, he can get burned very quickly by the Strix. Yeah. He can take that, managing to go on the side a little bit, but just going to be free fire. Really low out of the fight. Doe might be able to trade this, but Kinessa's body blocking with the Headhunter in the way. Doe not being able to burn down through the Mother's Grace, though. Pulik trading on point.
I don't know. I don't like this choice here. I feel like Doe was 2 shots the entire time, and, 2 shots away from claiming what would have been Diggy Dog and getting, Bonker and getting him off the Torvald, and it really just was a focus on the Tenor, who was getting pocket healed and bubbled, and they couldn't deal with it. This is going to be tough. They've got a touch now. and they really don't have a lot of ultimates to use.
With Fisher being down, I don't know if they'll be able to touch. The Nullify's in the way. Barrett can't dash through the window. Overpower coming in to take Doe off the map. This looks like it's going to be NIP's map.
Wow, that was a big change of events. That was one that you could say slipped through the fingers of Virtus.Pro, and you could also say that NIP just grabbed it out of their hands. It was a really good execute once they had won the initial pressure back, but boy, oh boy, it looked like that was an opportunity for BP to go 2 up.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think Doe, I don't think Doe was choosing to prioritize the Kinessa. I think Bonker just put the sniper right in the way. He was just dodging, keeping it, and that was just really, really good heads-up play by him, considering how low he was in that fight.
I think either way, it was just a lot of little moments that made a big impact here in the end of this fight, and it's going to be NIP and Virtus.Pro now going back into Game 3, squared up, 1-1. Send it back to the desk, see what they have to say.
A little like life there. A lot of little moments all culminating in one big fight. Evan continuously nailing it on the head, and NIP continuously nailing it on the head, almost letting it go here, but close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. NIP come out on top as they take the W.
That was an important one for NIP to win, because just like NIP are a very momentum-based team, Virtus.Pro are very much the same. If they take 2, the eyebrows are raised at that point on my end. Like things could very well go in the wrong direction for NIP.
I mean, I'll even go a step further. Virtus.Pro getting 3 points there in the last map was the eyebrow raiser. Yeah. If Virtus.Pro go up 2-0, I think Virtus.Pro at least take a third, if not the fourth, perhaps not straight up in a sweep. But the fact that it's Bittner and
there's your one shot. My God.
The fact that Bittner keeps Virtus.Pro at a distance is so important.
And I laugh watching these clips because it's exactly these guys are pro players. I mean, this shouldn't come as a surprise, but it's like they drafted the composition and then seeing it actually played out as it's supposed to. Like it's so rewarding to see a clear game plan turn into clear execution. They wanted bubble, they wanted damage amp on Bittner, so he could do this exactly. One-shot squishy members of Virtus.Pro.
Well, I mean, this is the difference between the top-end teams and really, you know, I think the layman's way of looking at it is going, well, NIP is better, and the further down the standings you go, the worse a team gets. Yeah. But I think the finer point of that is just that last couple of rounds, that's kind of what the ideal Paladins game looks like, and it gets murkier from there. Not better, not worse. Worse technically is murkier, but it just becomes harder to see the strategy they're in when it's just black and white and you can identify like, oh, there's the spot and that's why they picked that and that's why they picked that. There's the victory. It shouldn't be that easy, right? And that's why we see some force back there. Virtus.Pro though almost get it. What do you think was, because I think that's really the focus here. Yeah, it's less about the fact that NIP, the top team, did top team things. I'm more concerned about how close Virtus.Pro got to winning this.
I mean, they weathered the storm very well, as I kind of pointed out they needed to, and we're 1 point away from taking another win. And what ended up changing around is they stopped weathering that storm. They started getting one shot by the Kinessa. Granted, you can't just say, well, don't get one shot. I mean, there's chess moves, right? Don't get hit. But they started to lose the fights immediately rather than letting them draw out a little bit longer, bursting down those shields. They weren't able to get onto the Kinessa. And honestly, I look back to the draft. There were so many options open, and they only got Strix Eevee for it. That's like a mid-round you could have picked them up. You saw them pick Torvald. You know Genos is still on the board. I'm surprised one or two wasn't Genos. I think that giving them both was a little bit of a mind slip in my eyes, but NIP.
What it is for me, for Virtus.Pro, they must value the Strix over the Kinessa so much so, because I agree with you. I think that's a pick that you could have gotten.
I mean, both snipers are on the board.
Yeah, exactly. You could have gotten that a little bit later. So unless you favor one over the other drastically, an interesting pick span phase. But also, Virtus.Pro, watching them, like you said, they just kept immediately losing those fights as opposed to finding some of the staggered kills that they were earlier. And I think that's one of the differences. Could that be just NIP kind of getting the necessary itemization as the game gets later and later?
Yeah, I think it's hard to kind of put a finger on it. I think that does play into it. Actually, it's kind of interesting. When you look at that game, you expect sort of the opposite, where early game, before the wreckers come in from Virtus.Pro, that NIP are just going to sweep them. And I think Virtus.Pro, they had their footing underneath them. They said, all right, well, we just got to position ourselves well. If Hecate, and that was a lot of it, Hecate was winning those duels very early on in the game. And then that stopped happening, and Bittner started winning those duels. So it seemed like at the end it was just, when it came down to it, the sniper play just kind of switched hands.
Yeah.
And Hecate kind of fell off. Meanwhile, Bittner picked up where Hecate left off and really drove the point home. So maybe a little bit of draft confusion on my side from Virtus.Pro, but at the end of the day, the players controlled that from start to finish. Two similar compositions. Here, though,
Strong stand-up. Yeah. Interesting interesting result there for sure. NIP go with the Ashe and the Cassie. Virtus.Pro on the other side will draft Eevee and Barrack. And our dapper coach as ever, growing the beard.
it's growing back.
Growing the beard back.
I can recognize him again. I know who that is now. I know that their head coach is. I know that Spuds in there is the head coach. Before I wasn't sure.
I like the look for Spuds.
I do. No, I do. I think beardless, bearded, all the same. But it's just recognizing the human being behind it is something I had to get used to here. Con Barrack, we saw it game 1, something similar game 2, but that's the bread and butter for Virtus.Pro. Pule wants to be on the Con, Dosups wants to be on the Barrack, and that's what they're going to try to do the entire game. Going back to the Eevee, honestly, if they lock in Leon and Genos here, I'll be happy because this is a bread and butter composition for Virtus.Pro here. There's not so much cuteness. It's actually very similar. Actually, this is the same exact lineup that they brought to Ascension Peak that worked out so well for them. The Xin, okay, they're not going to do the Xin. And Imani is actually somewhat interesting in that she's not necessarily been hugely changed. All right, they're trolling us at this point. I'm not reading into this 5th pick. But the Furia is where I look for NIP because they're an aggressive team, and Furia is a sudden aggression type of support. The moment that Inflame kicks in, the moment those flame wings sprout from everyone on NIP, they'll be even more aggressive than they normally are. And that's what Virtus.Pro have to look out for because I like to call it the go button. The moment that go button is hit, Virtus.Pro need to be prepared because movement speed and damage amp for everyone, I don't know. It's like a piñata. Everyone's going to be happy on the side of NIP in those moments.
I mean, Furia, the fire comes out. Fire means fight, boys. NIP certainly looking to be aggressive. I like the Jhin a lot more in this composition. This just makes a little bit more sense. Fire wings, fire blades, just go for it. Meanwhile, across the way, Virtus.Pro, the same comp that they took their victory in game number 1. We're split down the middle. We'll see who takes 2. Evan, Kresnik, bring us the business.
Well, it's time to get down to it. It seems like Shattered Desert will be a map that will decide at least the eventual, or at least the pre-imminent, the imminent fate of these two teams, as it does determine who will take the lead in this set yet again. Virtus.Pro, we're off to the races. NIP, they even things up on Frog Isle. And now Krez, one of our newer maps. Not the newest at all at this point, considering we've had a few come out pretty quickly. But
Bazaar,
Bazaar,
the new hotness.
And it wasn't long before Warder's Field got replaced, and it's like it feels like there's just so many new maps here.
And they're all good.
They're all great maps, a lot of fun. What are we expecting here from this matchup?
I actually really like Nipster. I think this is almost, other than maybe the Inara, I think they might have wanted something else, but I think this is like a key draft for this map. Ashe for distance, Zin's actually insane on this map for being able to get away. Cassie for the scout on the mids to remove the flanking potential. But VP have basically 5 comfort picks, so we'll have to see how it works. Zin running away from the duel with the Eevee. No one wants to take that, even a Zin.
No, and it's very tough when she's got Luminary as well. That damage amp is going to be insane. Hecate, big trade, and Fishy finds Alex. That should be enough of the pressure there. They've got their 2 main fraggers alive. Bonker, though, trades out with Hecate. Now a lot more work for Fishy. They've got to deal with that, plus the Furia. She does quite a bit of damage as well. But these long-range shots are really doing work. We talked about contributing to that tank fight in Dosups with an easy cleanup.
Yeah, Eevees that can hit those shots at mid-range consistently are the kind of Eevees that you want on your PPL teams. That if you can only hit shots when you dive, your damage is going to be so much. You're going to be putting so much less into fights.
Right, and it's going to be very situational when you can succeed. But if you can almost treat it like you're kind of playing the Cassie role when you want, and then all of a sudden you could show up and get that dive and that pressure on. It completely changes the Eevee dynamic.
It makes you have to guess more on what the team's going to do, because if you know if the Eevee's like never hitting those mid-range shots, and you see they pick Eevee, you're like, all right, well let's get something super sustainy that'll just live through those dives, or something with a silence or something. That's what you'd be thinking in draft, but all the Eevees in the PPL more or less are are that consistent, able to hit those shots.
And these two have, well, I mean, Alex was not a guy I knew for EV. We knew him as a lot of hit scan into last season, but he's just been such a good player at developing his caliber on different champions and different flexible options, including blasters, which are notoriously one of the more, I think, sequestered kind of choices. They kind of stand out on their own, and really it feels like they're specialists, and only a few players really go for them. But Alex has really meshed both hit scan and the AoE characters into his repertoire, and it's worked out really nicely for NIP.
Yeah, I think so, but I mean, on this game, you can see Fish, who's been a specialist for the longest time,
That's
is
right.
really, it's showing all the practice he has on it.
Exactly.
He's looking really confident, and like the VP's draft, the comfortability of this is, I think, what's helping them a lot here, and their ability, they like wider maps. So Hecate can play these hit scan champions without getting pressured as well, and they're doing it very, very well this game.
And what I think works for them so nicely is that they've got Fishy on pressure. And he's creating pressure, whether it's the Drogos in a different form than the Eevee, it's the same exact concept, and it's opening up things for Hecate. So when he does well, it opens up Hecate to do well, which opens up Fishy to have even more pressure, and it really snowballs in the essence of the word. And Virtus.Pro, they're going to take it 2-0 here, under 3 minutes of play. It's going to be a very similar look to Frog Isle.
I think so too, because I think NiP have a good look going into this mid with the Scout to see exactly where they want to dive, the Inflame for the damage boost, the speed boost, and they have the Assert Dominance too. So instead of maybe like, instead of being kind of having a risky Assert Dominance where you're not exactly sure who you're going to land on, they can go in, stun a target, and melt them super fast with the damage boost. But this that first mid, that first point, that was all VP. That was all Hecate.
Right.
Pounding in damage from the back line while Fish was trading really well too. I mean, if you look at the damage charts, you can see the Xin is all the way down below the Inara.
Yeah.
He was just getting completely zoned by distance and by the Eevee poke.
And that's going to be trouble, because if you burn that counter, we talked about how influential that is to now biding time, since the Billow can't do it all anymore. And so you do want to, you know, try to burst him down as much as possible, force those cooldowns, and open up the vulnerability for the Zen, as they try to do here. Here's the Inflame we talked about, and the Inara goes into the Seismic Crash as well. Doesn't count for any ability damage, but it will give that extra movement speed and allow Tinner to set up for 2 as he takes down Pulele and Hecate.
Yeah, VP actually started that mid. I think they expected about what I was saying. They started that mid on their mounts very far back, but there's just so much distance coverage. Oh, yeah, Dome is catching this whole time. No, it won't on the Dome Shield. The healing station might have helped him through that, because Spite doesn't caught. Assert Dominance trying to trade, but gets killed in the air by Vex. Oh, what a turn. This could still go VP's way. Solid 3-diamond space. Pierces Bunker a little bit. Any bit of damage on damage reduction in Aura is pretty solid.
Yeah, I mean, 1100, it's not the worst, not the best, but it gets the job done. What a call by Dosips there, and what a mistake. I think going into the Spite under the Dome Shield, they obviously wanted to burn him down, but at that point, they probably needed to back off, and they lose 2 as a result of it. They lose another right now as Alex first to die, and then first to die again after the respawns. It's 99%. It's Virtus.Pro with a 3-0.
Yeah, and this is they're looking really clean on their map pick. You know, they won their map pick first, and now up 3-0 on this map is up 3-0 on NiP is always a good feeling. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure they're feeling really good about that, especially after the last game. This is such a momentum swing. And
Kate's hitting shots, man. That's a scary situation to be in. Tinner bites off a lot more than he could chew, and I think they realize they're going to die. Not a lot of willingness to kind of stagger out supports more than necessary, I'm noticing. It feels like they're just trying to get everybody off the board ASAP. Partly because maybe they don't want to stall that payload as much as possible, partly because, I don't know, they just want to kill him.
Fury also is one of the supports where if you leave them alone, she could actually do some damage.
She might take you down.
Might get a trade, and when you're attacking, you don't want trades. You know, they spawn way closer. Trades are bad for you at this point, unless you're going to confirm the capture from it.
Right. So maybe a little bit more patience. And a little bit of foresight as well, and Flame comes through. They're going to back off for that, but it does feel like NIP, in their aggressiveness, has bitten off more than they can chew time and time again. This time, though, Bonker's going to take a huge bite. He'll stay full, and it is an impulse, Cassie, unlike the big game that we have seen at times. And that sometimes makes a big difference in terms of when you're looking at that frontline battle shifting your way.
I think it's because they want to trade more into the Xin and the Eevee and the Leon. Yeah, they want to be able to bully the Eevee down a little bit more, but clearly it hasn't been doing as much as they wanted. I mean, a good Eevee can just avoid it. Oh, great aggression by Pule. Does manage to get pushed out, but he forced them out. They all got pushed into Hekate's sightlines, and he just burnt them down.
And Hecate with a double, it means Fishy gets a double as well, playing off each other like peanut butter and jelly, so they can make a delicious sandwich, whether it's after school, whether you're going to school, or whether you're just a grown adult man who's hungry.
Who's the bread? Who MVP's the bread for you?
You are, because I like me some sourdough.
Oh, I'm definitely white bread.
You know, I tried to help you out. I couldn't go
it's
there.
fine. I can't defend myself on that
I'm glad
one.
you suggested it as well. I'm pumpernickel bread, I guess, which I like. It's very delicious. You ever been to Cheesecake Factory? And man,
I've been to Cheesecake Factory. The bread is pretty good.
oh, it's good.
And a VP looking to get this bread as they keep establishing this position. They got to pick. They did get picked there, but they managed to back off and have a chance to get this overtime push.
Yeah, and that's going to be important here. 10 seconds now. Enlightenment at the ready, Krez. NIP. They've got 5 ults. Here's the Dome Shield. They're kicking it off as well. Inflame to respond, and there's the seismic crash. What can they get off of it? At least the kill. They find one. There's another. It seems like it'll stabilize. Fishy finds 1 kill, but unless he's going to do God's work here, they are going to go into a 3-1 at least. It will not be all said and done. And they, on the side of Virtus.Pro, can I think be a little happy about it. They've got some good ultimates off of NIP.
Yeah, they got the seismic crash and the inflame out, but NIP still do have very good team fight starting ultimates.
Assert
Scout,
dominance.
yeah,
Strong.
assert dominance, and the Scout again. I don't want to undersell the value of Scout on this map.
On a map like this.
It's so wide, and there's so many little flanks on the outside that if you see a flank coming, it can completely change the dynamic of the fight.
Especially when you're playing Impulse and you're trying to land that first burst shot onto her. So, yeah, you're right. I mean, this is really going to be up to it. Obviously, the trades have been going the way of Akate and Fish. That's really more of the overarching theme. There's a lot of other things that have happened, but the main result is these two are kind of getting left off the leash, and it's crazy. 12-1, 10-6. If that keeps happening, it seems like this is Virtus.Pro's.
Yeah, absolutely. A Scout coming in. NIP now can see where they are settling, but they're sitting far enough back where the Ashe is going to have to really commit on the assert dominance. And look how spread they are. They don't want that Ashe ult to get as much value as NIP's trying to get from it.
Yeah, and I think this is a very smart play here. Alex finds a spike kill, which is unusual under the front line. Doesn't usually do enough damage, but they'll get it. Dosif, does he have the Dome Shield? No. Alex with a double kill. What can he do? This man we talked about being flexible off the blasters onto the hit scan, now onto the flaming sword. He's got to do a lot more for NIP to win. 58% and counting. A little pressure on both sides. Diggy's one tap here, but he's going to use the shield so well, and a big heal and a nice shoulder bash to get away.
Oh yeah, Fish, I don't know if he touched because he went too high. He does manage to get the OT. And
that was huge.
Melted down on point, a little bit too confident, not using any of his cooldowns. The team pulling back to fight Diggy. Doe dominantly on point, might get the Alex here too.
Baby!
Couldn't uncaught with the counter long enough. And VP just cleaning up these kills. Diggy's distraction wasn't enough.
And that was just beautiful min-maxing, I mean, from Fish and everybody else, right? The ability to get that overtime, to make them kind of overcommit and really stake their claim, stand their ground to the very last moment. And Diggy uses that shoulder bash to get out, and yeah, he saves his life, but then that front line's gone. It opens up so much space, and Ice Storm here to try to stop it. It's 99 to 99.
VP body blocked Bunker.
Get on,
He was right there.
Oh boy, Vex
just
too smooth. He says, no, no, no. You can't touch my point.
That was crazy. That was honestly that was the craziest play I saw all game. No shots, no anything. Vex perfectly body blocking Bonker for that cap.
And the finger wag.
The finger wag. Woo! I like this Vex.
I like this Vex
Can we see this Vex all the time?
I want to see a real life body block with Vex right here on the Bonker. That'll be some.
He's gonna stand in front of the caster door when he tried to go to the green room.
Is that where he went to go?
He's gonna go stare at us through the window.
Well, great stuff from Virtus.Pro. They have been playing really well. Akate, hands out. He does play for the camera, though. I will say Akate knows when the camera's on him. And he kind of...
He definitely asked the cameraman.
He comes alive.
No.
Now? Okay, great. Yep. Well, I don't know. Like he's not paying attention. Akate's smooth. He's a smooth operator, but it's Virtus.Pro who have been very clear that they are dominant in this set. NIP have some things to work out. Let's send it back to the desk as they get ready for Game 4.
Smooth operation on one side, but coast to coast for the other. Virtus.Pro up 2-1. I mean, this is the situation that I think a lot of people are a little surprised about.
I did not expect this at all. When we had the round table of us guys on Esports Weekly yesterday, Bittner was with us, so I jokingly kind of said, yeah, Virtus.Pro are going to beat you guys, and it's looking like Virtus.Pro could beat it.
Well,
because
the thing.
that was so overwhelmingly in Virtus.Pro's favor. There was like a consolation point for NIP at one point.
And here's the thing, and you know, I from watching Virtus.Pro, I sort of got the crash course, right? You guys have been here the whole sort of jam. I've filled in the past couple of weeks and have watched a lot of tape. And so what I've noticed as I kind of like just chowed down on main course of Virtus.Pro is that they play up or down to the squad that they're
True.
up against.
I think that's fair.
And I think watching Ninjas in Pyjamas, I think, like you said, I mean, Hecate plays for the cameras. He's going to play for the in-game cameras as well. Hecate had one of the best games we've seen in a long time, and pulling out his old standard on the Leon.
Yeah, and that's really what this is Leon is at a point now where she's not bad by any means.
Serviceable.
But it's, if you love this champion, if you're good on this champion, you can still perform well on this champion. That's exactly what Hecate did this game. Double kills in a lot of fights, 3 kills in a lot of fights. He just did the thing, and that's really what it was. It was a tried and true, nose to the grindstone effort that time from Hecate. Can't forget about Vex, Undying, 3-0 and 26 or 27. He was nearing a 30 streak. Undying though. At the end of that game, having a support that doesn't die is so important. I mean, the uptime of healing. You know, Genos is like, we always say, he'll front load your damage. He'll start off the fight in the right way for you, but he won't necessarily pull it back from the brink of defeat. He doesn't have that burst healing that some other supports have. But Vex having 100% uptime in this game was so important to the side. And now it's on NIP. How do they react? Because this is the game after a loss. And it's looking like if this continues, it could be another one.
It looks grim there in the NIP booth. Bird hasn't said a word since the game ended.
Oh, the bird is the word.
Well, the bird is unspoken here.
The bird is unspoken right now. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to. It's still 2-1. Everyone knows this is my favorite slash line. 2-1 is my favorite game to look at.
Why is that, Dave?
Because it's really teetering on the edge. 2-2, it's a brand new set. You wipe the slate clean, you might as well be 0-0. You kind of literally are at that point, and it's just a best of 3. Whoever wins 2 out of 3 wins it. 3-1, in my eyes, that set's over. We've only seen one comeback from 3-1. So this is, if Virtus.Pro win this one, you can never count NIP out. But like that probability of win chart is like shooting up towards Virtus.Pro if they're able to win this one. It's easy for NIP when you're winning every game to be happy and cohesive at a team. I'm not insinuating anything. I'm sure everything is fine, but like you just see kind of a lot of grim faces.
No,
they're so used to winning. I don't know if they know what's going on right now.
I'm absolutely with you. I mean, the mental part of the game very, very large. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Maps here for game number 4. Ice Mines.
Yeah,
you love it.
Let's slow things down now. But and not even so much that. I mean, Ice Mines is traditionally a bit of a slower map in the sense that 4-3 isn't unheard of. We've seen 2 of those already. 4-1 was the fastest we've seen. Could have very well been a 4-0. But NIP are good at this map. They like their pips. They like their AoE damage dealers. Bankar, insert him into that sentence here. Or excuse me, Bittner, insert him into that statement there.
Sure.
So the pip is viable here. The Drogos is viable here. The Bomb King is viable here. Dredge they've brought out once. So, I mean, for a flexible team...
Which Virtus.Pro are.
Which honestly either team are in this case, I would say. Ice Mines is a map where you can play around with your lineup a little bit. It's kind of been interesting, actually. Leading up to this, NIP have been let's throw crazy stuff at the wall and see what works.
Right.
We haven't really, after that 4 DPS composition 2 weeks ago when they played Envy and lost, we haven't really seen like a wild and creative NIP. They were throwing Ferocity Grover out there. It just hasn't, almost honestly hasn't been the same NIP. They still look clean. They still look good. They're still very much in this set. But giving them the Torvald again,
real quick.
I maybe look for Virtus.Pro to take away the Genos this time because Torvald Genos was way too much last time.
Yeah, I think Virtus.Pro kind of made a mistake the last time Torvald went through. Not Torvald being the mistake, but who they allowed to go with Torvald.
Pair him with, right.
Because NIP have intelligently drafted and taken away the Khan and the Drogos, 2 of the picks that Virtus.Pro want to play. Map specific a little bit, looking at the Drogos and how he performed just 2 maps ago. So NIP really thinking and digging deep and bopping hard here as they allow the Torvald to go through. Virtus.Pro will start off with an Inara and a Bomb King.
You are not
and again,
welcome
I
here.
am looking at a lack of Genos. Inara and Torvald are going to fill kind of the same position.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, Inara is good at standing there and being healthy, and she provides, the wall. She has utility, the seismic crash, a lot of utility there as well. So it's not I like to kind of make fun of it. I mean, she does stand there and fight from the point, but she provides a lot to her team as well. If NIP go the Genos here again, it still leaves me scratching my head a little bit on the Virtus.Pro side. Bomb King, very good here, though. Fisheko, very good at Bomb King, the champion as well. So I like both of the picks individually, but if you look at the draft as a whole, if NIP are able to get Torvald Genos again,
and the Ashe.
And it's Tom, it's the same story as Frog Isle. It's the same story as Frog Isle. They are going to have burst damage. And if Virtus.Pro are able to deal with it, win those individual duels first, they'll win this game. But what we saw at the end of Frog Isle is the individual duels started going the way of NIP, and Virtus.Pro couldn't keep up.
Listen, I'm not tenured enough on this desk to make this statement, so I'm going to set you up.
No.
And if you and if you don't want to answer,
tenured enough?
And if you don't want to answer, that's totally fine.
Sure.
But flat out, is Virtus.Pro not taking Genos in the first 2 selections a mistake? Is that a flat-out mistake? Especially considering how Frog Isle went?
I'm gonna be democratic.
That's totally
potentially.
Fine. That's totally fine. I respect that.
It was a mistake in the sense that they deviated from their game plan on Frog Isle that was working against Torvald Genos, in that they played too aggressively when they were winning, and that kind of bit them, and NIP were able to take it.
Well, the Tyra, I think, is certainly going to enable them very well. Tyra does very well against shields.
I mean, if you like damage amp, this is the game to watch, because you have 3 of the damage ampers in this one. So I like that pick from Virtus.Pro, answering back with a little boost of their own. But these are the important 2 picks. What NIP are able to... Oh, God. This scares me. This scares me because Pip bursts on his own without Torvald Genos. Zin bursts on his own without Torvald Genos. I mean, you could replay what I was saying before Frog Isle and paste it into this game.
Well, this is as close to a pick composition without snipers that you can get. I mean, usually we don't necessarily use that terminology, but generally when you see sniper heavy or hit scan heavy compositions, you're looking for individual picks. You want to stagger those deaths. You're stacking that damage, calling a target, shoot it down, call a target, shoot it down. NIP have that sort of deal with Pip and Jin. They're going to target one person. They're going to explode with the amount of bursts that NIP have. So Virtus.Pro, they've been winning a lot of these duels. You brought it up a lot, watching kind of Bittner and the rest of Virtus.Pro go back and forth. Well, NIP have not only gotten some of the premier tank talent in Torvald and Ashe, but they've also got some of the premier burst talent. They've been losing these duels. They're now enabled to win these duels and push out for zonage. I love this NIP draft. Virtus.Pro will answer with the Ying, though.
And the Ying, again, same as Frog Isle. That's the healer that Virtus.Pro brought last time. She has good burst heal, so she'll be able to sustain them. It really comes down to the duels that we see. If Virtus.Pro are able to withstand that initial burst, blow up some of the Torvald bubbles, and then get some kills in return, they'll be able to win this one. And they were about to win Frog Isle much the same way. But if NIP are able to do what Torvald Genos should with a Pip and a Zin and explode the Virtus.Pro roster, they're going to have a tough time. This is going to be an aggressive game. I'm excited.
Drafts on both sides look good, but it's pedal to the metal here. We'll go to the casters and see how this one winds up going.
Thanks, Tom. It's been a really interesting day because we started out with NIP looking the better team as far as what most people would say coming into the contest. But it's been Virtus.Pro who have dominated, who have shown that today they are on top of their game. And NIP have been kind of trying to battle back and to no avail.
Yeah, and NIP, they definitely look like their drafts have been not things they were 100% on, honestly, on some of these maps. Like, I liked the concept behind the draft of Shattered, but the execution, VP were ready for it, you know? And I actually really like the VP draft personally on this map. When I think Ice Mines, if I had both these drafts in front of me, and you said, what do you want on Ice Mines? I'm thinking VP's draft. I'm thinking damage boost, area denial, really strong tanks. And actually, one thing I wanted to mention, the Damba not getting picked here, I believe it's because Virtus.Pro doesn't want to load up on too much CC. So by doing a Nara BK, that's the crowd control. And then if they had Damba too, that would be the stuns, the Dread Serpent, This way they can get more value potentially out of them having to buy resilience.
That's a great point. Also, you know, if things get too shady, maybe Ying goes down early. If she still has her ultimate up, she can kind of immediately
teleport back to
the point. So one of those other things that comes in handy on Ice Mines as well. Probably considering both of those options, as these are pros. They're paid to think about those things. We're just paid to talk about them. 33% and counting on Virtus.Pro's side of the point, and IP now backed off and looking to create some space with Tinner's pressure, but the damage hasn't been flowing as steadily as he wanted. Nara's still full, and now Alex forced to use the ability to get out.
Yeah, it's going to be really hard until Ultimate's online for NIP, just like on Shattered.
Yeah.
For them to get in. I mean, Diggy was contesting the point last round, and an Ashe into an Inara Barrack on the point. It's really going to struggle. She got melted pretty early. Diggy trying to use his shield here to do it, but Doe's just going to walk into his face. Captain coming in, the chicken.
Whoa!
Coming in, might pick, oh, barely saved by Doe. Pule gets away, and he's in their window. Might be able to also pressure back the Genos. Looks like he might pull back to the point instead.
Oh no, Alex going to do his best to trade here. He probably will. I don't think he can survive that, but the Illusory Rift comes up at the perfect time. I think this Ying is going to be fine. One of the other reasons, that burst mobility to get in and get out. Diggy's low. Do they know it? Seismic Crash to kind of shut him down. Vex, though, gets healed up through his own clone and just takes an extra second. Will that second come back to haunt Alex, or we continue to whirl through the rest of Virtus.Pro like he's been doing? Zen is back, baby, and he's working.
Fishiko coming with the Grumpy Bomb, the CC value here. Still alive. Pule gets chased down by Alex. That's still one of the few things Zen can do. And Bird cleans up Fish.
Wow.
For NIP.
Wow. All of a sudden, NIP battle back. You think it's over, but Alex, the last man standing throughout all of it. And it deserves a nod at the loadout here. Let's see what the man is running. He's got a lot of value coming through on that Zen. Being able to not only continue to move quickly with Footwork 3, 30% movement speed for those 3 seconds. That's impactful, chasing people down, but also just infamy. He's got the extra health, and he's obviously got the increased speed. He's about as fast as he could probably be in most loadouts for Zen.
Yeah, absolutely. Footwork 3 has been a pretty common thing, I think, on Zen since the changes. It's kind of replaced Hideout as the mobility,
card,
get further away card.
Yeah.
People still running the Billow speed, but Billow's so short, like you max it out, and then you don't really want to invest too much more into it.
Right. There's no need to kind of go into any other direction. And it certainly showed that he had some fancy footwork there. He was in and out, whirling to some really great opportunities and creating havoc. And that was kind of the thing that Zen has always excelled in, giving you problems that are really hard to solve in the moment of a Paladins matchup when there are other characters prioritized. How did that get out of Virtus.Pro's hands, though? Because after, you know, you saw, I believe it was Dosips actually get out of that chicken, it just felt like that fight was over. They should have won it.
They didn't focus on the Zen in the fight. Pule went to push back the Ying in the window. Actually, hold on. Huge Evil Mojo really quickly coming in here. They're going to get to it. This looks like it might be a confirmation at this point.
Yeah.
Pretty clean push. I mean, Evil Mojo is such a strong ultimate.
So good. And the value there, pretty much getting to the damage, the range. He's also got burst healing. Fish is going to drop. Maybe he can do something here, but not going to have time to get off. Most of the ultimate, as you said, going to be a bit of a formality now that they got that 2, and they have the healing coming through from Tinner. But you know, we were talking about how did that get out of control of Virtus.Pro. It just seemed like everything was going their way.
I think they just ignored the Zen. I think that's what it was. And the Zen's cleave, when you're not paying attention to them, especially with Luminary, those 1,000 damage Yomis, those add up.
That might have been it.
Yeah, Luminary plus Luminary plus Torv. I mean, the Zen, he still does the same amount of damage he used to. You know, him being able to do that. Plus also, Yomi cleaving through everything. They also cleave through the Ying illusions. Yeah. So it really does limit the healing that the Ying can do. If it's just down to life exchange, she's not putting out her maximum output.
Yeah, and it really was impactful. Fishy, I think, thinks he's kind of got Alex out of the fight, and that Poppy Bomb just creates some space because he's getting low, but the 977 cleanup, you got to say, surprises him. I don't think they expect Fishy to go down. And in fact, I don't think they expect him to be 1-4, and Alex be 0 deaths and 8 kills. This man is popping off. And this is not where you want to be in a corridor where the Yomi's in. Dome Shield as a last resort, but really the only option to survive what would have been an onslaught.
Absolutely. But King Bomb coming in actually manages to catch off Alex. Pulled in by, what a shot by Fishigo there too. Now NIP's just going to try to die on the point with only 2 left. Padding Fish's stats, that's probably going to be play of the game.
Absolutely. They're going to look back at that quadra kill and say, dang it, Fish, we knew we could get one by you, but we didn't know if we can get 2. He says, no, I'm going to have my turn this point fight. Alex, you sit down. He finds an end to the spree. for the Zen, and the King makes his claim here on Ice Mines.
Great wall up top by Doe, kind of forcing the assert dominance, and he doesn't manage to land on high ground, so they could keep this fight up if they want. Alex coming in, double damage boost. You're not going to live through that.
Nope.
That's one of the things about why damage boost is actually so powerful in this meta, right? Healing, you can buy Cauterize. Shields, you can buy Wrecker. CC, you can buy Resilience. Haven and Blast Shields only do so much, and it doesn't work for everybody. That's why you're seeing all these characters that have damage amplification coming through.
Right.
Even in like little ways, like Pip, when he marks you with his Catalyst, right? That's damage that you're still taking.
Right.
Tyra, 25% more damage. Haven, 21 max.
Right.
All these damage boosts and amplifications, they're so meta because of this. And some of these even started in the PCL, actually, moving in. Like the Tyra, Genos, damage boost composition, that started there and worked its way up.
This season, Mr. Watkins, he was all about his Tyra. We saw it every freaking PML game, and PCL played that as well because they've been a fan of hit scan characters for a very long time, and it's less of a taboo, whereas in PC, mobility typically is king. Dosip's here finding Diggy Dog, but it's really great to understand that. We've had metas in the past, Krez, where Haven and Blast Shields have been 30% and totaled out, and they were must-haves.
Well, that was the counter-aggression.
Exactly. And we've also had damage amp in the game as far as items, so things have changed. This time it does seem like damage amp is reigning king without too much of, not too many checks and balances on its reign, so we'll see how long that continues. But as of now, Fisheko says, I don't need too much. Throw a Hunter's Mark every now and then, but most of the time I'll get the job done by myself.
Yeah, Bomb King can do plenty without it.
He comes
with
prepared.
it, he becomes even more of a absolute force.
Yeah.
And the damage, talking about the damage application, it's just mobility only does so much when all you're doing is moving faster to dying.
Yeah, exactly.
Like if you're like, I can get
quicker
out
into your death.
Yeah, exactly. If I can get out of the situation fast, that's why you pick a mobility character, right? But if you die before you can leave,
right,
that's where the real benefit comes from.
Right.
You can counter that. That's why the Tyra is being playable.
And that's what we saw with the, that burst kind of style. It's the only character that really has some inherent damage amp in multiple ways for her abilities. Willow really is kind of the one not being seen. Almost every other character that has some form of amping up their damage, whether it be through a legendary or some type of playstyle, does have a little bit more of a feature here in this meta. But things change, that's the way of the world, and right now Virtus.Pro trying to change the point total on the top of your screen. 2-1 for NIP. If they tie it up here, that would be huge. It looks pretty good as Akate and Dosips and Fish each find a few kills. Torvald by himself, what's a grandpa to do? I don't think much, as this looks to be tied.
Yeah, booped into the point. This was, their sustain really showed through there. Their ability to live through all the poke that was coming in with the double off tank, that's why they were able to cap that. This is not an easy point to capture.
No.
Not at all. And they were able to, they had better long range poke.
However, it's just not, it doesn't feel like it's the Ice Mines of old,
No, it doesn't.
It feels like people have gotten much better at capping and pushing on this map.
I think it's because once you have that high ground and you're poking them back, that's when the attackers do actually have an advantage.
Right.
People learned that they have to play their lives a lot more. Because if you die there, you know that you're going to take about an hour, you're going to have to get an Uber, you're going to be like, man, this is a long, you're going to have to call ahead and be like, yo, this is a long drive. Like,
exactly.
Are you cool with that?
I
promise I'll
take
take
3 times more.
Yeah, it's a what's that?
What is it called, right?
I know what it's called. Surge?
Surge.
It's a surge.
Surge pricing.
Surge pricing on Ice Mines are absolutely absurd. So everyone's really playing their lives a little bit more.
True.
And that's why they're able to get these conversions.
And also, you just think about it, too, like those kills mean so much more when they come quickly. And that's what Burst is all about in this meta. So the ability to get that character, to take those lives even faster than beforehand. Good wall coming up there from Dosip's trying to shut it down. He's been a mainstay on the Inara. There's a whirl, and he's just going to... oh, my God. He's going to get body blocked by Diggy Dog. I think that was just a 200 IQ play from him.
It might be, but
right
no
back
IQ
at
can protect him with that. 2 picks coming quickly thanks to the Poppy Bomb from Fisheko. VP having to pull back a little bit because they're so low because Vex died really early. Dome Shield to take off a little bit of the pressure, maybe let them disengage. They're actually not going to this Inara. She might be able to get passive heal.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I wonder why that's going to happen.
I think she was actually walled into the corner.
Oh,
I think
gotcha. Okay.
I think I just saw it break.
It didn't make much sense if you were looking at it like, hey, why don't we just go down and rotate? But Dosip stays alive. Great play from him. Good ingenuity of the wall. Creativity is definitely a part of that. And now Virtus.Pro back in contest. A big kill could happen onto Alex. It looks like he's low. Nobody chasing yet, though. Playing their lives, as Kresnik had said, on Ice Mines, one of the most important things to do.
Yeah, and actually, a lot of the ultimates for NIP went out really quick. I mean, they did Ashe Generous combo. That's a huge explosive one. They got Vexed from it, but it didn't even turn into the fight. Fish backing up, getting peeled for a little bit by Doe. Coming in with the seismic crash, might be able to catch Bonker here. Does. Fight looking really even.
Yeah.
Looking really even right now with Fish poking down at Vintner.
Because they lost Akate as well, so Tinner's still alive, but they lost the damage amp. What can Fishy do? Vex cleans up Alex, but now here's the evil mojo. This has been impactful, but Tinner's low. He's got to get the kill. He won't do it. He bounces out. He bounces to his death. Fishy with the bomb cleans him up, and it looks like this could go the way of VP. 2-2, 81%, but red all over the screen. Doseps with another. Hakate with one more. He's back in action, and VP 3-2 heading for the potential push that could put them one game away from set point against NIP.
And that red all over the screen isn't just the tire mark.
No.
That's not just that. That's
No,
just not
it's
just a.
But we're a team game, so
yeah, it's a team game.
It's,
all of them.
It's just strawberry jam.
Yeah, all of them blame. There, I was gonna reference an old movie that you might be thinking what I'm thinking of, but I'm gonna keep away from that from now. Bonker actually finding Fish going a little bit too forward. Vex can't consistently heal with his illusions from that range. Moving up with Alex, his main partner in crime for this damage boosting. So they're probably gonna stagger Doe a little bit here. Let's see. They got him as soon as he just point. I think they could have bought a little bit more time with that, but better safe than sorry, I think, in some of these situations.
Yeah, and I think right here is where a lot of teams feel comfortable holding. They'll try to maybe find a pick and then continue pushing if they can, but right here you don't want to see control of this middle ground. And so Fish is going to take this high ground approach. He's going to force Diggy back, and now that he's got some support, he's going to rotate with Pule. Diggy really just has to go deeper, or he's got to use his ultimate to try to get out. I don't think he wants to. It'd be an interesting decision, but Pule, he'll take down one, and Tinner and NIP rotate now to find Fish.
VP took a really safe approach to this mid, because that sight line, great point by Tinner, actually. Wow. And the Moxie keeping him alive too, manages to die. I think VP might end up getting the better side of this, but what I was just saying, VP, when you come this way, you can see this massive, massive sight line.
Right.
Even though NIP don't have crazy ranged poke, if the more you can minimize, the better. If you can go to the side, get even closer to them, and have multiple angles of approach from coming from that side, it's just the smarter way to go most of the time.
And I feel like there's just been a lot of intelligence on the side of Virtus.Pro. And right now, that's where really a lot of things are going to be decided. You've got to get those luminary marks for Bird. You've got to find ways to hit through times and spaces if things get dire. You may have to pull the trigger early to give your team a little bit of room before they have to sacrifice some of these really important points. Ultimates, like the assert dominance, and Diggy's not going to get a chance. He's going to go down. Vex will find another. Did all they use the King Bomb? No, they used everything. They used the Crossfire, they used the Illusory Rift, and it looks like they actually used that King Bomb initially.
And they're actually using the Seismic Crash here to stagger Alex more so they can get into this dominant position. Once you have these high grounds spamming down, this map becomes so much harder for the defending team. So VP is actually looking in a really good position to convert Ice Mines. I don't think I've ever said that before in my life.
Well, I know, right? It seems like something that's out of fairy tales, not real, not true. The Hyper Beam here, just trying to buy some time, but that's the one thing Inara doesn't have any need for. She's got plenty of time herself, so she's not worried about someone else trying to take a few minutes. There's the Dome Shield. They're blocked in. Doseps and the rest of the frontline crew hiding underneath that, and now Alex is pressured out. A shield comes through, and there's the Billow cooldown. Fishy's got to go big or go home. He's going to go halfway, and he's going to set things up. Puleoli cleans up Alex, but it takes too long indeed. Bird and Diggy find a few, and it's going to be a 3-3 heading into the final round.
Wow. Can't say I'm surprised about that, though. 3-3 on Ice Mines?
Wow. What do you know?
But actually, every single ultimate used in that fight, I believe. I don't think anybody had their ult up and ready going into this next fight here. All of it had to be burned because, in that, you have to you ult for the conversion, You can say, I want it for the 3-3 mid-fight, but if you're going to lose if you don't ult, you have to. You have to know when to pull that trigger, and both teams were willing to go full auto there.
And at that point, it's okay for the offense to ult too, because, maybe we'll win. And then if not, then we're even into the next point fight because everyone's used their ultimates. So unless you know that you're really trying to win it, on that ultimate side, as far as the point fight, maybe you're playing around. You had mentioned that scout on Shattered Desert. We talked about the assert dominance, often trying to stun, find a pick there. It does seem like you could just wait by a little bit more time and just kind of go at it naturally. Just say, hey, we're square. Gloves come off.
Yeah, I mean, you can pretty much safely ult once they ult if you think you have the better composition on the mid. I think NIP actually are going to be on the back foot. I mean, they've been on the back foot for a lot of this set, but I think they're going to be on the back foot coming into this middle because early game they won that mid, and I think had the items been online for Virtus.Pro, the mid would look a lot better. So now it's basically there's no ults in the game. We're basically looking at a mid 1 again, except now we have caught 3s, we have record 3s, we have resilience.
Yeah.
We have all the things that could give us this advantage in this ult-free fight.
Well, Krez, you know, things have kind of gone similarly for most of these games. We know it's 2-1 for NIP, but the truth of the matter is that Virtus.Pro, even in the game that they lost, were in a very good position to simply win that game. In fact, in the final point fight, they were up for a majority of it, and it seemed like they just lost track of maybe some of their target priorities, or maybe things just went wrong. Something caught them off guard. Here, it's continued to be extremely Virtus.Pro oriented, and that's been a strong suit for them. They've come into these sets and these games as almost the favorites.
Yeah.
As far as play.
Yeah, and it's. I don't think it's super surprising. All the teams that are here at this LAN League, right now that the PPL is on LAN, I say now, it's been several months at this point, but all the teams have been improving at such a high rate. And other than NIP's dominance early in the season, it really did look like anybody could take down anybody.
Yeah,
even Renegades had a really close set against Knights the very first time when Knights had that crazy reverse sweep.
Yep.
It really is anybody's game a lot of the time, and I think now teams are catching up to NIP, and it really could be anybody's game moving forward.
I mean, it's just such a hard thing. It's why we harped on it so much during that time, because you could tell how hard it is to stay ahead of the pack for so long, because people catch up, and it is a LAN league, and there's no ping issues, there's no separation of information and conversation. It's all interchangeable. It's all connected. So it was very impressive, that run that they went on, and it's also impressive how everyone has responded after kind of continuously being beaten down, not finding a way to get past that hump. Envy showed that the Giants can bleed. Virtus.Pro trying to open up the wound a little bit more today, and that would really open up some interesting conversations for tomorrow and the rest of the league.
Yeah, I think honestly NIP's fall. I mean, Envy obviously played phenomenally that day that they beat NIP, but I do think it was part of I was going to say ego death. I don't think that's the word I was looking for, but I think it's like a deflation of an ego, almost like they started getting that level. They started getting that level of confidence.
Yeah. And
now that it's been poked, it's harder for them to feel as good about their strategies because it didn't work that one time.
Right.
Actually, speaking of that, I can tell one day at the hotel that we were at. I don't know if I'm supposed to say the name or not. We were getting dinner.
Okay.
It was a lovely night. I think it was baked potatoes that night or something.
Sounds delicious.
I was loading up my plate, and Bonker comes up to me and he goes, "Are you ready to get destroyed tomorrow?" and I just didn't. I was like, "Yeah, man," and just walked away. And then when that kind of thing happens, you can see they had so much confidence throughout the whole season because that was week 6, week 7 or something that he was feeling like that. So I mean, after that loss, I mean, could be a big blow for them against these teams that really pair up better.
And was it even the loss? Because really you looked at it, and the Renegades and the way that they played showed that, I mean, when a team at that statistical caliber in the league does that to the #1 team, it's really easy to have almost imposter syndrome and say, wait, okay, hold on.
Yeah, do we really deserve this record?
What's really going on?
Yeah.
I know we're confident, but can we get it back what we had? Have we lost it? Was it like a thing we just kept on as long as possible? That's why streaks, momentum. It's like you try to keep it as long as possible. You know you're going to fall out of it eventually. But you do try to, I guess, keep it, because those moments are fleeting. And they come back, of course. I think that's life. But, those moments can be fleeting. NIP, hoping that it hasn't fleeted quite yet. A big win over Virtus.Pro if they can get it today. But right now they're down 2-1. And they're also about to be down 3-1 if Virtus.Pro take this next point. We're going to take a little bit more of a break and go to the desk, get their thoughts, and then we'll come back here for the finishing part of the game.
Hey guys, it's me, F-Dot, and I'm here to deliver some not-so-nice news. Due to unfortunate circumstances, we're going to replay the whole map, so Virtus.Pro and NIP do get a secondary chance. Both teams have agreed to this, essentially just a technical malfunction during the pause. And so back to the beginning we go. Same picks and bans, though, which should be very interesting. We'll see if the game goes the same way, because at the end of the day, I think that this really is just execution. Virtus.Pro put up a very, very big fight there, getting 3 points. Can they do it again is a big question.
So I'm very much the type where it's like if I'm like flat out wrong, I'll admit it. And I kind of played the diplomatic approach to the like, was it a mistake not picking Genos on the side of Virtus.Pro? I still don't know.
Sure.
But what they did have is a game plan. It's like if you go into that composition, if you're going to play against Torvald Genos, one of the burstiest duos you can go up against, and don't have a game plan, then it's a mistake. But they obviously do have a game plan. Kresnik pointed out, and he was very smart to do so, that Virtus.Pro, have drafted a very good controlling lineup. They have good space control. They have good area control. Fisheko, I mean, that's a strong individual performance on the Bomb King. When you have a composition like they do on that side, you can deal with the burst that NIP are bringing, and that's exactly what's happening. So it's like on paper, the NIP draft is super flashy, and it's like, wow, NIP is a flashy team. They're going to blow you up immediately. But Virtus.Pro with a bit of a less, flashy lineup in your eyes, but when you really pull back the curtains a little bit, it's very good, it's very controlling, and it's a good lineup for dealing with what NIP are bringing. Then you simplify it down more, a lot of good individual performances from Virtus.Pro. Put them in a very good spot, honestly, because regardless of what you draft, going against Torvald Genos and a Pip, Bittner has huge plays on Pip, you have to play at your top regardless of what you have on your side to beat that.
Like you said, they have a game plan going in, and that's really what it is that when you see, and this is, Paladins, this is games across the world, when you see that top pick get through, as long as you have a game plan, we've seen dominant selections in Paladins before, and they sneak through, but if you have a way, we're just going to get Tyra Victor and by everybody Wrecker at minute number 1, maybe we let them have the Makoa. And so here, it's the game plan for the Genos is to lock it down, play space control, and make sure that the Genos doesn't have really access to what he thinks he has access to.
No, and that's exactly what's happening up to this point. And Virtus.Pro, I mean, this is a statement. I mean, you look at the standings; they're 6-5. They're very middle of the pack. They literally have a 0 map plus minus. I mean, you could not be more central.
They are the par. They are literally the bar.
But what we've seen from them is like high highs and some low lows, depending on how they're playing on any given week. And beating NIP would be one of the highest highs you could reach. And on this map, we are going to remake. But if they play the way that they have been, I think they could win this Ice Mines game.
I mean, this is what I said before, where we watch these teams and NIP one of the top, and when it comes down to Virtus.Pro, they tend to rise and unfortunately kind of sink to the occasion. Against NIP, the only way to go is up, and that's exactly what they're doing. So they're playing real strong against NIP. They're bringing out their best stuff. We mentioned how when you look at their DPS, it's a little bit push and pull. Everything's pushing right now. When we look at their front line, again, with just strong, outstanding performances from these guys. Fisheko is playing like, classic Fisheko back in the day. We're seeing a lot of good things from Virtus.Pro, and these are the types of games that can catalyze a unit, can make a team really stand up. If they get a win, even if they just get close to a win, I am fearful for whoever has to stand against Virtus.Pro later on.
And we talked about this in the roundtable yesterday, but this is like the gauntlet for Virtus.Pro. They had to face SSG last week. They faced NIP today, and they're going to face Na'Vi tomorrow, 3 of arguably the best teams in the league right now. And so it's a statement week for them. Where do we stand compared to these other top 3 teams is the question that Virtus.Pro are trying to answer this week. And right now, I mean, there's still games to go. If NIP win, it's a best of 3 basically at that point.
For sure.
But what they've shown, even just out of 3 games, is that they can hang with the best team in the league right now. And furthermore, the fact that they're mid-table shows how competitive the league is right now. The fact that a team this good is technically middle just shows that, any given week, anybody can beat anybody, of course. Like I said, still a long way to go today, but it does maybe have the makings of an upset.
You're going to stick to that? Anybody can beat anybody?
Yes.
Shout out Renegades versus NIP. How you feeling about that one?
So, the last... But really, the last time they played, it was a 4-0 for NIP. But that was when Renegades were looking so good. Quick. No, the last time we saw NIP and Renegades, it was the 4-0, but it was the best we've seen Renegades perform.
What was the score again? I missed it. I couldn't hear it.
It was 4-0.
I'm sorry?
It was 4-0.
Okay, that's what I thought. 4-0 in the direction of NIP. So some
gamesmanship from Tom up here on the desk. come rolling in here, put me on the spot like that. No,
Hey,
it's
man.
Okay. No, it's true. I'm making bold statements here. I think, let me rephrase.
All right, rephrase.
Anyone can hang with anyone in this league.
I respect that one.
There you go.
And I can hang with Dulcin, but Kresnik can hang out with Rain Day, and we all can hang out with the game.
My good friend Ryan Day.
You know,
Ryan
a lot of people call me Ryan off of the fact that my name with the Y kind of throws people into, you know, the way you read. You can read words and you can mix up all the words in between. So you know what I'm saying. I have a cousin named Ryan as well.
Do you ever
I have a
get mad
friend
at you
named
for
Ryan.
stealing his name?
What?
Do you ever get mad at you for stealing his name?
Sometimes.
Wait,
yeah.
does he have the same last name as you?
He does.
It's
but it's not. It's not. So my last name. Because
so he has like 4 letters in his entire
we're clearly
name.
not in the game yet. So I'm going to just talk about.
Yeah, at the
other
PW,
things.
the Paladins community Discord.
Yeah, no, my last name was changed. My family's real last name is Hubbard.
Okay.
My dad was born as a Hubbard, but he changed his name. His mom actually changed his name when she married a guy named George Rayner. Okay. And then when he was acting, I didn't really like his dad, his stepdad, not really his real dad. But when he was acting, he kind of wanted to change the energy around it and just took the E out. And so my grandma's actually named Rayner, but with an E.
E in the middle, like between the N and the
Right. And then my dad is the first ever R-A-Y-N-R, but he changed it. So I'm the first ever born R-A-Y-N-R, like
it's a cool last name.
Legitimately, you know?
It's a cool last name.
I feel like I hold to that title pretty nicely. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm the first ever, you know, Rayner, born by birth, you know. So.
You were a champion from the moment you walked in.
They knew
I almost
it.
said, well, I almost said walked out
They
of
knew
the
it.
womb. That
First
would have
time I
been-
walked in the office, they said, we're thinking about putting you in the game because you're a champion. But can you just cast for the first few years? Can you just...
This is your warm-up.
Yeah, this is your warm-up. But you're a champion. I want you to know that. Guys, welcome to my personal hell. Casting Ice Mines 2 times in a row. I hate to say it. I love these teams. But my God, it's the map. It's the map. But you know what? I love this set. And being honest, unfortunately, it does feel like this is like, you know, when you write your essay before you turn it into your professor and you're done, but your computer restarts and you forgot to save it. These two teams so close to finishing it off, but not quite able to do so. And now they're going to have to do it all over again to earn this match.
And it's interesting to see NIP repeating almost some of the same mistakes. I mean, that aggressive Ashe dive through the barn did not work earlier. It worked in very, very, very late point in the fight, but that wasn't because of the Ashe.
Yeah.
And it just the dominance from they just wiped her off the map immediately.
So I guess let's rephrase this, because early point fight still similar things happening. Is there something to learn? It seems like NIP a way different, because the first round went really nicely towards Virtus.Pro early, and then NIP came in very late, kind of swung things around and had the advantage. This time it seems like Virtus.Pro had just been on the back foot the entirety of round 1.
Yeah, what they did learn from that was do not put your Ashe on the point versus a double main tank comp.
Right.
And while they lost the pick early, they did pressure the Inara off.
Yeah.
And that gave them the kind of win in the war of attrition over the point.
Right. And it does feel like, too, if a team of the caliber of NIP is going to replay a match that they were losing, it would favor NIP. Because NIP have everything to gain from a position where they're not doing as good as they want to. They're not holding their standards. If VP are having a great day and they're like, we're about to take down NIP, and all of a sudden, they have to do it again.
Now they have to prove it's not a flash in the pan.
Yeah, and it may have been a flash in the pan. Sometimes that's how you win games. You just kind of have a better day that day, and you get the result, and it helps you out.
Yeah, sometimes you just win 4 matches in 2 days.
Yeah, there you go.
And it feels like it, but looks like
well,
NIP...
when these 4-3s, you know, every match has really been 4-3. It's just been kind of on a pinhead how they've tilted to one favor.
Yeah, NIP actually, right now, they're looking really solid. That aggressive defense, like I was mentioning, making them burn resources. Oh, no, I'm sorry, VP. Holding them at the cart. I had the map flipped in my head. Don't mind me. But VP still locking him down at the cart, getting him some good focus. They managed to catch that early pick, who's bouncing back. Assert Dominance coming in, actually, managing to stun Fish, but no conversion. The team couldn't follow up on it and to get all of it picked up as VP regained control of the fight.
And I'm really excited about the future of these two teams at the MSI. It's going to be awesome to watch them kind of combat against one another. Teams that have so much top-tier talent and so many different stories that have come together to now create their own narratives. It really is Avengers-esque, so to speak, when I think of VP and NIP. It's just players who have all done great things in their own kind of universe, and now, you know, there's a bigger task at hand. You know, there's a bigger enemy to kind of go ahead and take a challenge on. And they've done it with class, with grace, and obviously with some good shooting.
Yeah, and actually, speaking of MSI, these teams are slated to potentially meet up very early, right? They could be meeting the first round, depending.
So you better get this matchup well. I guess the second Ice Mines, even if it doesn't work out today, might be helpful in some preparation for these two teams heading into when really the money is on the line for that midseason invitational coming up in the early part of July, late June. So just 2 weeks.
Yeah, it is, I think, about in 3 weeks, I believe. Actually, ooh, Spike coming in to trade off Akate. That's a lot of damage off the field, not just because of the rifle, but the damage boost. But looks like it wasn't enough. Fish diving in. Bert getting a trade, but the sustain might be too much for VP. Maybe not.
I think this is just NIP at their finest. It's a team that is incisive like Insurgent. They know exactly when to make the cut, and they all make it at the same time. They work as a unit well. It's 5 members pushing. Now they've taken a long time to do it, so credit to VP's defense, but they have a lot to stop, especially with all these ultimates, with really not a lot of reason to not use them if you have a chance to go 2-0 up. And of course, with the danger of the high ground potentially being taken away now with this pip.
It does look like, oh, okay, I thought he walled him in. On this map, though, like, if you can forward hold and not let them get this high ground, it is very good for the defense, especially since every pick... Oh, well.
There you go.
There's Diggy.
What the?
Enjoying his time.
The heck happened?
I'm going to assume he tried to dodge one shot, and fast overtime was decided that the game was over.
Holy moly.
The point.
That's one person you just don't want to watch. You want to watch the temper of the fast overtime.
Yeah.
It's very short.
It's really... One of the things that I've told my team in the past is that if you're contesting the point on fast overtime as a tank, you call when you're at half health. You don't say, I'm dead, someone touch.
Right.
People have to know way ahead of time, or else you will never continue that contest.
Wow, that's a great little insight into coaching and what that looks like. What other things do you tell your team? Give me another little.
Well, I mean, I talk about positioning. I mean, it's more like they handle a lot of the draft, because if I were to come in another language while they draft in Portuguese, it kind of breaks the flow a little bit.
Bom dia, me llamo Kresnik. I am from. You have to go.
You gave it up real quick there, Ray.
Sorry.
Really aggressive mid actually from NIP. Oh, they tried to force them back into Bird's ult, but they saw it coming. Seismic Crash coming to maybe trade it back. Is the damage here? Diggy with a triple assert dominance, but they're all being healed by the Ying ultimate, the Illusory Rift. No, all those ultimates, and only Fishiko dies, and that was just now, and it's probably about to get traded.
And he used the King Bomb as well. Here's the big deal, though. Diggy Dog is still alive. He's been min-maxing so well. The Shoulder Bash actually gave him 90% damage reduction during that ultimate. Fishy thought he had damage coming, and Diggy Dog just took it all out of his back pocket, and he was none the wiser. NIP looking really strong to start off the second round of Ice Mines these two teams have played. Not able to convert, but now they're looking like they're going to get another chance to do so.
Retaking Ice Mines is really hard. The other team basically has to screw up, and when you look at Nip, you're not expecting them to screw up. They can get a pick here. Barrick actually might be able to make it if he gets a failsafe. Nip doesn't want to shoot him here. They want to just body block him. Don't give him the failsafe. They gave him the failsafe. He got the overtime. It could still flip. They could still get the pressure in. Depends. It looks like Diggy Dog's damage might be too much. Vex Tut, no. Bitner's damage is too much, but AoE sustain. That's one thing about zoning a Barrick. You know that he has failsafe. If they had just body blocked him instead of shooting him, he wouldn't have been able to touch the point in time.
That's a great point. You don't really think about that. You think the lower he is to death, the easier it is to finish him off. But you have to realize that 30% is his way of getting there.
Yeah, you put him to 1,400 health, and suddenly he's at, 3,100 or something? Off the top of my head, I'm not sure, but it's a huge burst in sustain, especially since this is so early where the Wreckers aren't going to be one-shot.
Feels like VP have lost whatever momentum they had here on Ice Mines, and now things are shifting towards NIP quite dramatically. Already 50% of the way. Alex using Spike to get up there and immediately into the billow. The bubble will save him from any of the firebomb, and now the crossfire here, melting shields, but getting melted right back. Diggy Dog has been A1 in this one for NIP, and now he's going to find another one of the big fraggers for their squad. It looks like this is another essential wipe for the Ninjas.
It could actually still, the Ninjas are doing, NIP had really good focus, but this could still go VP. I mean, Poulet's still contesting. And Fish is still in position to do damage. They might get Alex here. Very close. Oh, never mind. He walked by a bomb. They actually managed to contest there, and because the spawns are so close, even though they had all those people there, advantage is still for VP.
Wow, really good defense, although a lot farther down the way. I think they were just starting probably about 40% of the way back when overtime ticked. So now they're already 60% of the way through. They've got a full minute left. They can take this with some patience, and they really just have to find the next fight, and that should be enough to give them momentum heading into the 2-0 push. But it depends who goes down and when. And it depends how long everyone else can stabilize after that.
Doe using his wall here actually just to buy time. I mean, you know that you want the overtime to happen as quickly as possible. That wall didn't really, all it did was slow them down, give the other side time to walk. Hecate getting really low. Some great Yomi poke coming in from Alex, but managed to back away and survive. Looks like Doe probably, Doe's trying to keep Fishgo's right clear while he spams main, but now he's going to go and turn at Diggy because he took a little bit of poke, I believe, from Hecate.
And Alex doing a fantastic job. Let's look at the damage numbers here because his Yomi strikes have been phenomenal. He's also getting pocketed by Bunker really acutely, and it's really making a difference because he's almost getting in every single time that he's playing. Alex finds another kill on the Fisheko. And Dosip's here with Hecate able to at least clean it up. Trade should be going on the defensive end now. He'll pop out a pillow, and that should be that.
Now you can see how well he duels, even though he's getting shot at by 3 different targets. I mean, Alex got Hecate down to what, 560 health? And that's within one. I think that's one double boosted swing from the Genos Torv. So, yeah, I mean, even with all that pressure on him, Alex still almost managed to take down Hecate, and that shows Xin, when played in the right situation, really can do it. He really can pull his weight, and he's been showing it this map for sure.
So it was Tenor in that situation. Now, it wasn't really, when you look at it from his POV, there's nothing to worry about.
Yeah,
obviously,
he was very low.
The
but
overtime.
He wasn't looking at the rest of the fight, right? Him and the support were on point.
Right.
4 other people are fighting 3 of his team. If his team loses that 3v4, it could be a turn, especially with the ability to teleport to the point from the Ying.
Seems like the real impetus is for Virtus.Pro to get on the point early and have control. And Nara coming back into these fights is not the same beast as a Torvald bubble, a Hyper Beam creating space, an Ashe assert dominance, or a shoulder bash. Zen whirling, spiting, billowing, countering onto the point. They just don't have that retake potential. And so they've got to win here. They've got to make their stand now. Dosips gets back to full health at 977, cuts it right back in half. The counter force, so that's at least 7 seconds where he might be vulnerable, but he's still got the billow in hand.
Loser Rift coming out. All the ultimates being popped at the same time, basically. Looks like the Evil Mojo didn't even find a target. Crossfire, no damage is really coming in. Hecate overextends onto the point in front of the people with 90% damage reduction. Nothing they can do. Doe trying to clean up, get some more cap time, but Alex is absolutely unstoppable. Field study on a Xin was always good. It's still good. You don't want to see those numbers popping up on your team.
Yeah, that didn't change, let me tell you. It certainly is not what got focused on in the nerfs, and Alex is well aware of it. NIP get the Torvald, they get the Zen, and this pairing starting to work wonders. But there's more time now to get back than there was beforehand. I think they were about 60% when this started to happen. Diggy Dog's going to have to be crucial here, and if they lose Fishy, that would be big. But he backs off, gets a heal from Vex. Diggy into the back line as well. Is he going to opt for the ult?
Looks like he will go to the high ground, maybe to dismount some people that are trying to get past him. The rest of his team is zoning pretty hard. I don't believe VP has a touch.
I don't know.
Doe got picked off. Gotcha. It looks like a
Gotcha.
pretty solid zone here.
Gotcha.
One interesting thing from that mid fight: double point tank or double main tank, no point pressure. Why I think that's the case is it looks like Doe was playing to the right of the choke coming out of the barn, right? I think he's playing there so that when Alex commits, he can wall the choke and either save his team or wall Alex in.
Yeah.
And because of him playing there, NIP realized that, and Alex didn't commit fully.
Yeah.
Once they started getting picks, once the ultimates started coming out, then he said, all right, now Doe is too busy to stop me.
Yeah.
So that's when he goes in and gets that 3K. So decent planning from VP, but it sacrifices their point pressure, and Nip just read it like a book.
Yeah, and it just feels like, wow, big time stuff. Alex and the rest of NIP off to the races here, man. The momentum has been with them. Virtus.Pro has felt like a ghost in this one. And I've talked about this before. Momentum. Energy. It's what helped Nocturne's Gaming during that crazy run at Worlds 2 years ago, make it all the way from the losers bracket, it felt like, just to the semifinals, essentially. And that ability for them to play off of doing well and keeping it going, it's been completely nullified. It was a huge timeout, and it was a reset. And now, they haven't found it again. They haven't been themselves trying to save it with a seismic crash. But Alex is going to pick off yet another This is it.
Yeah, the damage boost is just too much, I think, through time and space. I barely dodges Fishiko, but it's just Pule, and Vex is sustained at this point. Looks like it's going to go to NIP. What a performance.
And
what an adaptation. And thankfully for you,
yeah,
not a 3-3.
Not a 3-3. You know, we got through it faster on the second time, but you can't help but feel like it was not the same for Virtus.Pro as it was for NIP. Both of them will look back at that reset a little differently, and not the same finger wags or hand gestures that we've seen from the two-star players in the middle there. It's 2-2 yet again, and Game 5 is on the horizon. Krez, what was it, man? Was it just NIP figured it out?
I think NIP were able to kind of read what VP wanted to do, and that's kind of a bad sign for VP because it seems like they really like this Inara Barrett composition. And if NIP has it figured out, then this might be a tough set for VP moving forward.
Well, let's see what the desk has to say as our second round of Ice Mines comes to a close, and it's NIP tying things up again.
Tied up, but not dried up. This one is exciting as ever. 2-2. You all right there, bud?
Every time. Your cold opens on the desk every time. I love it. No, it's a good thing, though. It's a good thing. Like tiny, big guy, little head, whatever that is when you say for Khan.
You know, I've stayed away from that because of that reason.
I know. I need to get it together over here.
Virtus.Pro needs to get it together as they find themselves in the middle of a 2-2 tie. NIP take this one, and Alex out there just dominating. 12-2-15 for his buddy Bittner as well. The DPS on NIP just went all the way up, baby.
And those are the slash lines of a Torvald Genos composition when you put it on a Pip and a Xin, because both of them ridiculous slash lines. And they open the doors this time around. Virtus.Pro, it wasn't so much, honestly, it's an interesting way of looking at it. I think it wasn't so much that Virtus.Pro had figured out the NIP draft. I think the NIP just hadn't quite figured out how to deal with the Virtus.Pro draft.
Sure. Because
the space control for Virtus.Pro the first time around was so good. Despite having the damage, they couldn't quite break through, but this time around, NIP figured it out. They broke through that lineup. Alex went off, and that was pretty much all she wrote. You don't want to harp on it too much, but it's tough because at the end of the day, before the remake, Virtus.Pro were in a position to win the game. NIP didn't have a lot of ultimates online. Like that game looked to be done and dusted in Virtus.Pro's favor. Now instead, we're down to a best of 3, tied up 2-2.
Hey, man.
And it's how Virtus.Pro respond, honestly.
Both teams agreed. So
no, it's right. It's right.
You know? It is what it is.
It is what it is. At the end of the day, it is what it is. It's just, for Virtus.Pro, I mean, if you want to dive into it, though, it's now the mental aspect where Virtus.Pro are thinking, wow, we could have been up 3-1 at this point. I mean, we agreed to it. So, I mean, all is fair. All is fair in this case.
I mean, Ice Mines twice in a row will do it to you for sure. But looking at these guys bouncing back, NIP certainly feeling strong.
Yeah.
Certainly feeling good. Virtus.Pro on the other side, you know, if I were them, I wouldn't get too down about this because at the end of the day, you know, like you said, it was NIP kind of figured out what was going. If Xin is allowed to play that way, he will win. That's generally how Xin works, right? He makes it through, and he's either going to go 0-15 or 15-0. There's very little in between. And so this was just Xin got to do Xin things. And losing to a pick like that, in my personal opinion, is one of the better ways to lose. Yeah. Because worst case scenario, which I don't think they'll do, you can just ban it out. But secondary, you kind of like, all right, we get it. We know how to block it. This map, we're going to be playing on Stone Keep. How does Xin work out here on this map?
He's viable.
Sure.
He's certainly viable on this map. A lot of engagements are similar to Ice Mines off the bat. At least if you're looking at the way Ice Mines is fought right off initially, there's a couple of those buildings, a couple long alleyways that you can fight in. Xin has lots of good targets to stack with his auto attacks when you pick Yomi Xin. So it's a similar map. It's obviously, you know, there's some differences. So he's viable here. Definitely not double Torvald ban in this case. One Torvald ban, I imagine, for Virtus.Pro, though. Tyra is going to be ban number 2. And I think this is good from Virtus.Pro. They had it figured out almost on Frog Isle. Now they are 0-2 facing off against the Torvald Genos. So taking away one of those primary pieces, I think, is smart on Virtus.Pro's side here.
Bans coming out in the secondary phase should be pretty normal. Atlas and Makoa will follow Virtus.Pro's Torvald Tyra combination. TNT, Dynamite banned out. We'll see what happens for numero uno. Virtus.Pro on the clock, and they will hover, and they will select Khan, big guy, little head, over to Nip. We'll see where they go.
I held it together that time.
But you lost it.
But then I pointed out that I held it together, so you know, a little give and take here. No, Virtus.Pro.
You also laughed when I said TNT. So I don't think
this is a horrible combination. No, I do. I love it.
Ash and Eevee here coming out for NIP. Strong offensive tank.
agreed.
Eevee is going to be great in the air. Again, staple picks for what we've seen so far. Virtus.Pro respond.
And I like them going back to the Genos in this case, because the last time we saw Genos for Virtus.Pro, it was on Vex. He had a 30-something streak, undying on Shattered Desert. And that was the most convincing game of the day, and it was in Virtus.Pro's favor. And Genos being in the spot that he is, I mean, he almost needs to be pick banned depending on the composition you build around him. Some teams have, you know, strategies that don't necessarily involve a Genos, but Virtus.Pro getting him, especially pairing that with a Barrack, especially pairing that with a Khan. Those are Virtus.Pro's kind of tried and true frontliners. 1 through 3 is good here for Virtus.Pro, but the Eevee pickup is definitely good for NIP, because giving that to Bittner or Alex, again, remember, they're both flexible. Both can play the Eevee. I think it was Alex last time around, and also taking that away from Fasheko. Could be a Drogos, though.
I think
Fasheko's shown Drogos today, and it's looked good for him.
I think the Leon Drogos would be a great look here. I think Stonekeep offers similar spots. We saw the Drogos picked up earlier
on Ascension Peak.
Ascension Peak, who also has some spots you can utilize the AoE indoors and the shots around corners. So Leon is going to be able to get those hit scan shots. Eevee's flying around, no doubt. Leon can kind of deal with that, as well as some of the straight up. And then Drogos can be literally up, flying above, and trying to provide some nonsense outside, or just sitting inside with the AoE. This is what Virtus.Pro go to. Honestly, when they look good. Can I say just black and white? This is a draft that makes Virtus.Pro look good. It leans on all their strengths, and it's what they've won before with. I love this draft.
Tom, you left no analysis for me to do, because you are correct. Top to bottom for Virtus.Pro, everyone's on a comfort pick. They have a little bit of space control in Barrack. They have some of that off-tank aggression in Khan. You have the Genos to amplify Hecate, who's incredible on the Leon. And then Fasheko on the Drogos. And this is the matchup we saw earlier on where they had a hard time dealing with it. When you have Eevee and Drogos, you know, Eevee has that burst mobility, but Drogos has that long, extended, up in the air, out of the fight, just raining fire down from up above. You have to pick something that can deal with that. Alex could get a few plug shots away on the Eevee, but this last pick really needs to be something that can potentially deal with the Drogos. It looks like it's going to be the Cassie. It did not... They weren't able to deal with Fasheko on Ascension Peak that well. They weren't. That was really what started to run rampant for Virtus.Pro. The Cassie Eevee is what they brought to Ascension Peak. Didn't work out that well for NIP last time. But at the end of the day, I think both teams have lineups here that both could work on paper. It's just going to come down to which team shows up here on Stonekeep.
I like the Virtus.Pro draft, and you know it's weird because if you asked me who's going to win this game number 5 earlier on, I probably wouldn't be saying VP. But honestly, that's where my prediction's going. Yeah, I think Virtus.Pro have the tools to take it out. We'll see what happens. Hey, Ryan, take the cast.
Well, I'll see if I can get him, but for now, it's rain day and rain day only. Well, okay, Kresnik, you can cast too.
Oh, thank you.
Do you want to?
Ryan went to the bathroom. I just walked in. He just needed me to keep his headset warm.
Good, good. Well, we'll let Tom know the miscommunication later, but for now, we've got games to go about, and Stonekeep is where we will be. NIP, Virtus.Pro, they are really keeping things level-headed here. Both teams having moments, and both teams succeeding 2 maps apiece, and now pivotal game 5, gonna shift things one way or the other. And these drafts feel oddly familiar.
Feel a little bit of deja vu. That's what I was gonna
say.
I mean, it looks like I'm surprised that NIP were willing to go with like almost an identical draft, because I really do think they were kind of missing hit scan pressure against the Drogos. But I mean, this map is different. You can get on a higher level thanks to the keep high ground. So maybe we'll see them abuse that. But it looks like VP have control of it right now.
And a little bit less of that roundabout way for the flank of Drogos. He can play left side and right side. He can play above you, but playing behind you is really not something that happens often due to the keep. And Ascension Peak, that can happen. He can be in your flank very, very quickly without being exposed and get back around. So maybe they're a little worried about that. on Ascension Peak, a little less worried here on Stone Keep. But either way, Fishy finding a way to, I guess, try to disrupt what NIP want to do, but they're having none of it. It's a quick 1-0 with about a minute.
Yeah, I mean, looks like NIP's strategy there was just kind of to ignore Fishiko, and since they have the superior point tank combination for a map that is a little harder to contest on than Ascension Peak, one of the things about Ascension is the point is so wide that you can kind of get away with having distance from the other point tank. They can't really get in your face. You can height and have cover. But this map is standard in terms of the point size, so the Barrack Genos is going to falter a little bit compared to like a healing monster that isn't an Aradamba.
Yeah, and it does feel like they're doing a great job of kind of playing around the objective, and this is what gets scary for NIP. When Virtus.Pro aren't allowed to really live off of the excellence of their damage dealers, when Fisheko and Akate can't kind of be the mainstay, and really when they're losing just the objective fight, when they're like, well, now we've got to change our game because things are at a pace we're not comfortable with, we aren't able to get in our position, our duels aren't impacting the match, that's when it's a problem. That's when I start to think NIP have kind of started to take control. It's been 5 points now that it feels like Virtus.Pro have just been behind. And I want to see that change here if things are going to go any differently. Otherwise, NIP, they're looking strong.
I think they can once they realize exactly what their comp is meant to do. I think maybe having Akate help a little bit more inside the keep fight.
Yeah.
That'll help them because they need to keep them off of the high ground to save Fishiko a little bit more. Sounds like, by the way, one ult to convert that fight over.
Yeah.
Decent Dread Serpent. Actually, Ice Storm used as well. So Ice Storm and Dread Serpent used ults that will charge probably within the minute for the next fight. So safe call by NIP. If the card gets a little closer, maybe they'll look to cast the Seismic Crash or the Assert Dominance, but I'm sure that Scout is going to be saved for the for the 1-1 or the 2-0.
Yeah, of course. It's just such a great starting rounder. It does charge quickly as well because of the amount of damage Cassie does, but it's just one of those where you probably don't need it here unless there's, yeah, I can't really see anything. Maybe to counter a really bad overpower that you think might be coming and get that CC immunity, but I don't see it happening. Virtus.Pro, though,
risky.
It's super risky. It's a guessing game at that point.
Yeah, VP right now settling up on the defense. They actually got the Seismic Crash out.
Yeah.
On the defense, so they're probably decently happy for that, especially since this point is pretty easy to hold with the composition they have, I think. Drogoz can hold tight to the roofs, Khan can hold close on the right, they have good long-range damage. Fishiko already picking off Bittner with barely enough time left for overtime, and I'm pretty sure it looks like it could be confident in VP's hands.
Feels like Fishy is just really doing a good job of reading this matchup, but his priority of where to go. A lot on Bonker, but then he'll switch to Diggy every now and then. I think the call on Bonker is right, but I just feel like the way they commit to it's got to be a little bit cleaner. Maybe don't switch on to Diggy in that corridor. Let that handle between the two front lines. Get the main takedown and force Diggy to drop. Otherwise, overtime will take away. NIP, though, looking very strong as well. VP tying it up on a defense. That's what we saw all game one on Ascension Peak.
Yeah, and VP, hopefully they can bring that magic back to this game, too. I want to see how they adapt here, looking at the second mid, because the first mid, they basically had no point pressure. Now that all 5 ultimates are online for VP, including they have 2 execution ultimates. You know, they have the overpower, can take a target out of the fight. They have the Dragon Punch.
That was huge.
They don't have anything to combo with the Dragon Punch other than maybe Doe can extend really hard on the point and Dome Shield, and Fish can try to end his Dragon Punch in the Dome Shield. Like, if he can hit the Inara right then nobody can get the clean kill on him.
Right.
That's one option they have, but otherwise I think they're probably looking to spend quick and early because they have a pretty big advantage.
Let's see what he tries to go for here. Shields up, Bonker in trouble. And he's trying to get on the backside for that as well. He's going to save the wall. Really good play from him. Through time and space, not going to connect. So nothing happens from that. Maybe just a little bit of pressure, but Akate and Vex force back as well. NIP take high ground, and a Dread Serpent will clear everyone off. What can he find? Oh, Rocket was close. Takes a second, but he does find the target held by the overpower, but Puleole dies as a result.
Good for VP, though, is that they got cap time, and Bonker just stepped on the point now. Or the healer stepped on the point now, Bird. Bonker managing to find the finish on Fishiko. Very forward. This is a really strong zone. Not actually dismounting Pule. That could bite them, but Pule fights this lane anyway. They have to force Bonker out. Hopefully they can make him burn some cooldowns here, but it looks like they're going to have to just settle up for dramatic retouch here.
Yeah, not going left side. Dragon Punch, it's going to get there, it seems like, and trying to wall it off. They're going to trade, find the kill. They lose their point tank, but they feel pretty confident. Is Dome Shield ready? No, they've used that already. Enlightenment here doesn't find a kill. Does not. The trade doesn't go their way, but it does at least save Akate's life for now. Diggy Dog is low. Doseps has to get this kill. That would be massive for them. He lines it up, but it just takes too long to get the job done. And Diggy comes back and puts one of the finishing touches on the blow.
Yeah, that was a pretty solid fight for NIP. I think VP just faltered in their focus fire a little bit, and if they had, I think they should have done the combo earlier. If they can get that early point pressure, I think it's going to make it a little harder to push through Fishiko.
Yeah.
On that high ground, and Hecate on the high ground as well. They're going to have a much harder time, so I think spending ultimates, convert early, maybe they could have a better fight, but they didn't, and here they are on the back foot.
Well, Alex using his mobility to avoid some of these rockets, but also using just, I guess, there is something to this Eevee matchup and the fact that it feels like Drogoz, even though he's up high, is not quite as mobile as you. He's a little bit more of a sitting duck, you know? You can kind of see that he doesn't have too much juking power if he wants to stay up there. And so taking advantage of that and knowing that, yeah, I could probably land a few more rockets on you. I'm a little more wiggly. I've got my blinks. I've got a little more speed on the ground. So it's really been an interesting test, but Alex has stepped up to every single second of it.
Yeah, agreed. I think, honestly, this matchup is not 100% in Drogoz' favor, but I think it's, well, I mean, if you hit shots like that, it never will be. But
yeah,
it is definitely sided a little bit towards the Drogoz. Again, like I said before, it's easier to shoot down than up, but he is pretty big. I mean, if you try to go through that little crack on Brightmarsh, his little shoulder blades are going to get caught. Jaws of Life going to get him out. But I mean, that makes it a lot easier for Eevee to confirm these shots.
Yeah, I mean, he's been hitting his deadlifts. You know, the back is getting bigger, and he knows it. It's something that helps him out on the beach, whatever kind of dragon lizard beach he goes on to.
He walks on the beach, just behold the dragon's body.
Yeah, behold the dragon's, exactly. Behold the dragon's bikini.
I hope not.
Well, you know, you never know.
I haven't looked at your web searches or anything.
He likes to have a lot of fun.
I don't have any doubt. Sizer Crush coming in, not sure. It's going to get Doe, actually, but they're managed to get Hecate out. If Hecate gets out, this is a lot better for them. Pulei's dying on point to buy some time. Doe will also be up for the contest. Hecate, played it a little too risky. Tried to help Pulei, but there was no way he was going to get out. With that pick, this looks like it could be in Nip's corner.
It certainly does. 20 seconds now and continuing. It's going to be a very interesting kind of...
Wow, clean Dread Serpent, actually.
It does feel like it just won't even occur. Whatever was going to happen doesn't, and you're right, it's a clean Dread Serpent. When rounds end like that, it can almost feel like people forgot to play, like they took their hands off their keyboard and mouse.
They're trying to plug in their controller.
Yeah, trying to plug it in. It's not, lost control. And Tenor really helping to contribute to the Drogoz fight, but also these little fights here. Hecate barely goes down, and I think that's Diggy Dog's pressure. Joseph's, you could tell, went back on the point, couldn't finish it off. And IP, man, they're starting to look the better team now.
Yeah, I mean, Tenor just activated. Someone hit his power switch. I mean, he's been looking really strong. I mean, you can see he's basically 20,000 damage ahead of Hecate, and Hecate was a force on Ascension Peak.
Yeah,
an absolute force. So we'll have to see how VP tries to adapt to this middle. Looks like a strong right side, keep side mid from NIP. Scout gives them all the information they need. They know how VP tried to adapt. They're kiting out. Looks like they want to play a more pokey game. Fight them on the side. Oh, almost a great pick from Fishiko, but Tenor barely manages to get away. Dome Shield coming in to earn some point time. They might get the kill on Bonker. Great through time and space to confirm that. That chase is what they needed. Now, if they can just get 1 or 2 more picks, Overpower is going to give them that for free.
Yeah.
This could be a great mid for them. They have NIP has a much harder retake against them.
Yeah, and I think they realize that this is just what needs to happen. They have to have early aggression. They have to find early value off of their 2 execute style ultimates. And they have to make sure that Hecate has pressure relieved as a result of it. When he is able to play off of Fisheko being the center of attention, it is so much easier for him to do Hecate things, which is just aim his brains out.
Yeah, I mean, that's been Hecate's forte for,
forever.
For so long. Yeah, he is a aimer through and through, but I mean, he's not like a brainless aimer.
No.
He still has good positioning in these fights. He knows what he has to do. Wow. I think that was an air shot on Diggy, by the way, while he was trying to get his assert dominance off. We were watching from the stun con POV, but I heard the ult go off. I saw him die.
Yeah.
Good shot by Fish. I'm sure.
I'm sure. Oh, looking for some globs of spit. We get a nice angle there from the Dragon's perspective.
He's not going to be able to heal Bonker.
No.
That's fine.
Yeah.
He can do damage. As long as he's not doing it now. Yeah, there we go.
That would be funny. I did believe, there was a change of the way Fishy handled that point fight. He went a lot more aggressively. He kind of dropped down to the ground and said, I want to finish off Bonker. I'm sick of this guy staying alive after we get him so low. Vex able to clean it up with a through time and space. But to me, it feels like Fishy might be saying, I need to take more responsibility for finishing these blows also.
It's really hard to deal with it. Like, if your team is positioning to deal with the Drogoz when he's on high, and then he just drops to the ground, and you're like, all right, well, I can drop. Do I drop to chase him? And then he just does worm jets things and ends up back in the skybox. Now I have to do a much longer climb than he does, and he has this advantageous position. So the fact that they're using that well is really good for them. Wow, Voltek's so low.
I honestly, what do you explain to a player when you see that, and the 5 members don't just dive them? You know, because in any Paladins game, you'd all roll over there and be like, all right, you're dead. Come on, kill these guys.
Yeah, you could roll in, but then, you know, this organized team, these CC ultimate. All right.
Yeah.
I agree with that fire spit.
Okay.
Oh, seems good. It was an intimidation.
Yeah.
Intimidation. Pretty good. Free cap for VP basically after that kill. Diggy and
is it just patience? Is everyone playing their role? Is it like a commitment to
minimizing risk?
Okay, but there are moments where it seems overwhelmingly like there's not really much of a risk to doing that, and the payoff is huge. Not saying that but I hear what you're saying. It is minimizing risk. It just seems like, are there times where that's taken too far? Are there times where you know, you're on rails a little too much?
No,
like,
I actually agree.
Don't push.
That can definitely happen, but you got to think from the perspective of these players. Like, you're playing right now. This is VP. They're playing against the #1 seeded team with like a plus 30-something map differential, and you're in the driver's seat in the fight, and you got to think to yourself like, we can play this slow
and
have like a
keep
90% chance, or we can dive and maybe we just get so clumped that we get absolutely annihilated by Cassie Eevee. Impulse,
right.
You know, Ice Staff left clicks.
Gotcha. All right. Always good to hear that perspective and see what goes on in the inside.
My team probably would have gone in.
Your guys probably would have gone in.
They would have been yelling and be like, Bora, Bora! They would have gone in. They would have been...
Ares would have been right on in there like the God of War. Bird trying to clean it up, and it ends up being Alex who hits the shot, and that's just not who you expect to be the counter. But look at that. Bird low, Tenor low, but at the end of the day, Virtus.Pro all dead. NIP now, they have some zoning to do, but they've got great champions to do it, and the Eevee in the Ashe. Virtus.Pro need a through time and space, maybe to clear some space, an overpower to lock somebody down, and that Dome Shielder get themselves back on the point in firm control, but they're running out of time.
Yeah, I mean, but VP, they have a lot of time to set this up. They're taking their time, and it's good that they can.
That a miss?
They don't get the overpower. I think they were trying to get the Eevee. That's so risky.
No.
Dread Serpent coming in might deny the touch. Doe might have to be a little more dangerous.
What? Oh, just off the mark. I mean, the pressure is there. Might have forced a slither, might have taken their eye off it, but it feels like, a lot of opportunities. Luckily, they had resources to spare, Krez. They could miss a few of their ultimates and still have ultimates left. And the fact that Fishy's still alive, that's
Alex,
a boon, but they trade. In fact, Dosips cleans up Alex, but it's not soon enough.
It's still in VP's hands right now, though, because they have to feed into the point.
Oh, my God.
Doe can shield here. They can get Bird. Now there's no sustain. He had to do that. If Doe can just live long enough for his team to get here, he can even get off. He has time. They're the ones at 99.
Yeah, this is good. Now they can back off. You don't have to overcommit. Somebody has to be on that point. It's the 6th man, so to speak, and Bonker falls down. NIP have dominated this game, Krez, but it looks like it's going to go the way of VP.
Yeah, absolutely. VP, wow. What a turn for that fight. Alex must be frustrated after you do that in a fight. Fish doesn't even know. Fish's head was in his hands, leaning back in the chair. He's like, I cannot believe we just did that.
I mean, look at this emotion. Look at the energy. They're back. They're alive. You felt like they had lost every part of the momentum that had occurred throughout the first 4 games, or the first 4 games. We've actually played 5, and that was really our 6th, even though we were only counting it as our 5th. You know, this is a long set, and now that momentum has shifted, now that they've won Game 5, they're actually at set point. How do you feel that's going to impact Game 6?
I mean, they've done it before, right? With not specifically against NIP, but they had that upset against Na'Vi. They've been here before, and if they can just bring that same experience, that energy, they already have the momentum now. I could see it going their way.
Well, let's see if it actually ends up being something that the desk agrees on. Will it be a Game 6 going the way of VP, or NIP going to force a Game 7? What do you got?
Virtus.Pro up 3-2 right now. The last game was as tied could be. I mean, it was 2-2, and then it was 99-99. But Virtus.Pro the ones to bring it out to 100. 1 win away from taking the set from this NIP team. I mean, what do you? I'm frazzled because it's strange to see, and that's not even a slight at Virtus.Pro.
No.
It's just NIP have been nigh untouchable.
It's frazzled is a good word, because I think. Actually, you know what? I look at these stat lines, and what it tells the story of The draft was almost the same as Ascension Peak.
Yep.
The storyline was almost the same as Ascension Peak. Bittner, huge damage on the Cassie. Alex just couldn't find his footing on this Eevee this game.
Yeah.
Fasheko didn't have as pop-off a performance as he did last time around.
Cassie.
But Cassie was able to deal with him a little bit better than on Ascension Peak. But if you look purely at the impact the blasters made in this game, I think Fasheko had more of a hand in it. And Vex again on the Genos looked great this time around yet again.
Well, this was largely, Cassie versus Drogos, Eevee versus Leon.
Right.
And the Cassie won versus Drogos, so that cancels out. But Leon won over Eevee, and then some.
Right.
And that's really the difference maker here is Hecate. I mean, this guy, Leon is looking like a real good pick. And again, that's the thing, is that she's not a top pick. But that's the beauty of Paladins, I think, is that Hecate is he's just that damn good with the heirloom rifle. Yeah. So give it to him over and over again.
Yeah.
Sure, Leon makes it work here, and Leon takes the game, honestly.
And honestly, coming down to it, you look at that final 3-3-point fight. It was up in the air, trading back and forth. Alex has a triple kill on the Eevee. I mean, things are up in the air, maybe leaning NIP, maybe leaning Virtus.Pro. But what it came down to was effective trades on the side of Virtus.Pro. Sure. A lot of times we saw one of the members go in, yeah, I'll get a kill, but I'll trade out. But what they were doing properly is trading out the right people. The last-ditch effort was Bird, and at that point, he's staggered out while the rest of the 4 of NIP are spawning in. So they had no healing. Bonker on a Nara, I mean, you have a big health bar, but when Damba's not pocketing you, you're going to die pretty quickly. So a good effective trades on the side of Virtus.Pro to seal that one up. Another 4-3.
Yeah.
Of our 5 games, 3 of them have been 4-3s. And honestly, Jaguar Falls is effective for NIP. This could go their direction.
Now we go to Jaguar Falls, NIP versus Virtus.Pro. You mentioned Jaguar Falls in NIP's favor.
Pip. I mean, I was talking to Bittner about it the other day. I mean, I won't go too in-depth into the conversation, but it's sort of like if it isn't broken, don't fix it. Yeah. Every time they go to Jaguar Falls, not every time, but the majority of the time, a Pip comes through for Bittner, and he wins the game because he's just that good on the champion. So the question is, if you're going to let it through, if you're not going to ban out a Pip, are you going to be able to deal with it? Because, I mean, NIP, they're always surprising. You never know what direction they're going to go. But if history dictates their draft here, there will be a Pip at the end of it.
Which is why I love this ban phase here from NIP. They ban out the Khan and the Drogos. They know the enemy's going to ban out Makoa. So they go Virtus.Pro. Are you going to ban out the Pip that's going to be so powerful and you know that we like to play it, or the Torvald, the more traditional route? You're going to have to deal with one of them.
They're putting him in a weird spot, for sure.
Yeah, you're going to have to deal with one of them. And so I like this kind of setup here. Virtus.Pro.
Atlas.
Go with the Atlas.
So, I mean, you're 0-2 against Torvald up to this point.
Yeah.
For NIP. I mean, the Ice Mines game, I mean, you could argue maybe round 1 of Ice Mines should have gone Virtus.Pro's way. But at the end of the day, you play it again, and NIP blow you off of the map on Ice Mines. So you give Torvald over to NIP. It worked well with the Pip last time. It will work well with the Pip again this time, especially on a map that they love Pip on. So I'm sure that's some of the conversation in the Virtus.Pro booth.
Here's the deal, though, is that, like, we're playing best of 7s. You have the luxury of seeing what works because, of course, you have your homework, the opponent has their homework, and then you have the what happens day to day. We've all been in the situation where you spend all week studying and you don't know anything the day you show up at the test.
Yeah.
So sometimes it just comes down to the series of the meta. Virtus.Pro, or the meta of the series, excuse me. Virtus.Pro, they might have practiced against this Torvald. They might have all the strategies against this Torvald.
Right.
They might understand what they're doing versus this Torvald. But they showed up to test day and dropped 2 of the maps versus Torvald. So I sit here and I go, man, you're 0-2 versus the Torvald. You're going to let the shield guy go through? I'm down.
But that's smart, though.
I'm down with you losing 1 and then trying again. Trying a 3rd time is really rough. The answer of Ashe and Genos, though, you like.
I do like that. Ashe, because if you remember back, the last 2 times they played into Torvald Genos, they picked damage dealers to take away, and that's not a bad pick. I mean, Grant, you got to remember that they have their own strategies that only they are privy to. We're just watching it unfold in front of our eyes, but they picked away 2 damage dealers. Last time Torvald Genos were picked up for NIP's side. This doesn't surprise me. because Virtus.Pro, they could pick up the Pip, but getting Torvald Pip, I think, very good. We sort of talked about it, getting that off the board. But what I do like, to go back to your point, taking away Ashe and Genos is important because the Genos was a huge staple to the Torvald lineups that they've brought. You know, Torvald on his own is helpful.
Right.
But when you pair the two together, it's almost unstoppable. Almost. Virtus.Pro showed that they could almost win some of those games, but taking away the Genos, I think, is smart. Giving away a Pip Genos as picks 2 and 3 to NIP, I think that would have been too much. So smart on Virtus.Pro's end to answer back with that.
Inara the hover here for Virtus.Pro. We'll see if the Stone Mom goes through. And Tyra.
I like this.
We do like Tyra. Tyra, one of my favorite characters at the moment for dealing with the Torvald. Not only does she have the damage amp that we always bring up, but the fact that Tyra just wrecks through shields. So I like her application. Eevee, though, kind of going a little bit for a loop, no pun intended.
I honestly like what Virtus.Pro are bringing right now to answer back what NIP are bringing.
Really?
These next two picks, I think, are going to be very telling as far as which way the game is going to go in my eyes. But answering back, you're going to have the bubble on Pip, but answering back with Tyra and Genos. Tyra's good on this map on her own. You also have the damage amp of Genos, and if you get both of those things on an Eevee,
right,
the burst returning onto a Pip, that can go through a Torvald shield. So
it's tough to lock down the Pip.
It is. No, right. It's a very execution dependent. It's a very execution dependent lineup that Virtus.Pro are bringing. But I think they are bringing a composition that, if executed, could finally maybe find an answer to this Pip.
And I love that for right now. I've discussed a lot. There are multiple things when you're playing at a competitive level like this, right? There's the homework that you do beforehand. What does Nip like to play? And then there's the practice that you've done in your scrims. What do I like to play? And then there's the meta of the series. Right now, right this second, what's happening? And right now, right this second, what's happening is that Virtus.Pro are frankly just playing good Paladins.
Yep.
And when you're playing good Paladins, when you're just hitting your buttons well, you can draft a high execution composition like Virtus.Pro have, and you're gambling a little bit less because you just feed the hot hand. You know you're feeling good. So even though this is harder to do than some of the easier to pull off compositions, the confidence is all the way on the side of the Orange Bears. Yep. Inara is going to be the last pick here. How do you feel about that?
I like it. They were hovering it earlier. They realized they could get it at the end. So what I look at here is NIP, yet again, have a high burst composition that'll be ready to go the moment that Furia hits her in flame. On the Virtus.Pro side, Ashe, Tyra, Eevee, they have a very controlling lineup. They're going to be controlling a lot of these small spaces. Ashe is a great bully. Torvald, not so much a bully. Barrack a little bit. So Virtus.Pro, I think, are going to look to control some of this space, mitigate as much of that burst as possible, maybe return some on their own. But NIP, they have a sudden aggression type of composition.
Well, we've got a full house here, 3-2. We'll see if it's over or if we go to a Game 7. Rain Day Kresnik, take us away.
Thanks, guys. Game 6. It'll be interesting, to say the least.
Yeah.
Jaguar Falls is a map that NIP have kind of almost stood their ground on in nearly every matchup. The Pip has been included in quite a lot of it, and we see that Virtus.Pro have the rare opportunity to take down NIP if they can win this game.
Yeah, and VP, I think both drafts here are pretty all right. I like the ending on Inara because of the strong CC coming from NIP. I mean, Furia Beam, but being able to live a little bit better through some of the Cassie pressure, being able to DR through the chicken, the evil mojo, and not being able to get hyper beamed off the point are some of the benefits that Inara brings that other tanks wouldn't have been able to. Looking here, Tenor actually jumping into the dark room at the start. Might have been a little bit of an overstep. It is getting picked out by Hecate. Fish still controlling this side, able to ice block through the Cassie pressure. She just turns away to try to find another target, but Hecate is running absolutely rampant. Bird actually finding 2 weak picks, but cap pressure is on VP, and I don't think Bird will be able to... Never mind. Make me eat my words, Bird. There's a reason he's such a world-class support.
And you know, it's great to see that Pyre Strike finally start getting used for things other than Solar Blessing. And that stun potential has always been there, but we just don't see it highlighted often. And it really does set up Furia for a couple of other shots. And it's 600-800 damage that you can almost guarantee at a very high, close range when that thing is firing. Firing back, though, in general and in theory, is Virtus.Pro not giving this one up yet. They know this is a closeout game. Fishy's going to use the sword. He's going to see a couple of decent targets, but really the best target is his front line, who goes down immediately thanks to Diggy Dog.
Yeah, and this is this is the weakness of Inara Genos, right? Like, if they don't win the fight early, if it becomes like a kind of grindy back and forth fight, then that Inara can't, unless she waits and gets the passive out of combat heal, she won't be ready. She won't be ready to fight again fast enough. If they keep up the pressure, it's going to be really hard.
And this is what they have to figure out here. Do they want to really put up their final stand here? There's nothing to lose, obviously, everything to gain, but you know, if NIP are able to win this game so quickly and force a game 7, it doesn't bode well for that 7th game, because you're giving them a lot of energy to move into that next round with, and also just a lot of confidence. And that's something they've got to shut down.
One thing, though, is that VP have actually won all their map picks, right? I don't think VP have lost a map pick they've done. What an ultimate from Vex. Oh, what a through time in space catching them. They were hiding. They were hiding from the Ash pressure. Pule was like, oh, face, and it was absolutely over. Fishko actually stealing Vex's quad. I don't know. What happened to teamwork? Where's the teamwork here?
Exactly. Little Fishy just trying to breathe on his own, and I think he's done a pretty good job of that throughout the set. But we've noticed that he's actually used that through time and space as cleanup, not to set up, not to get the initial picks. He's not looking for solo kills. He's looking for injured and really cornered opponents on the side of NIP to finish off, and it's a great way to utilize your support's damage.
Yeah, I mean, if you're using it, it's just like a guaranteed confirm. That's kills that your team doesn't have to chase. Those are sight lines you don't have to force yourself into. So, and also, they're usually guaranteed, because when they're low, when they're out, that's usually because they just use their movement.
Yeah.
They were getting out of there. Diggy actually taking a lot of pressure there, managing to find the pick onto Vex, but getting out with his life too. Wow,
the big shots, man.
Fishiko.
Big shots.
Fishiko absolutely performing under pressure, hitting everything that he needs to today. He's been on another level, I think, all day.
He really has, and especially on Eevee, and that just made such a huge difference. He's going to force the Inflame. He already killed Alex. And they're looking with a Hyper Beam to try to just stop the contest. It's not going to be enough in itself. Pulele is back. Virtus.Pro essentially stabilized, but NIP trying to tilt it back ever in their favor with a Dome Shield. That will end. Tenor will take down Fishy, but Akante finds Diggy. What does that mean? Kool-Aid, he's going to find Bonker. That's the front line. So unless NIP can make a huge play, Evil Mojo already used. Will it be enough, though? It seems like it just might be, as now there are 3 members of NIP against only 1 of Virtus.Pro.
Oh, and Kool-Aid waited so long to use his Assert Dominance, didn't even manage to get it off in the end. And actually there, Furia Pip is such a monstrous composition since people realize that Moxie is a good card. The combination of Cherish, healing you more when you're weak, plus the Moxie giving you 50% more Rejuvenate when you're low, that Moxie is like a secondary potion. If that Pip is getting pocketed by the Furia, on top of maybe he gets inflamed too, right? Oh, there's also this kill on. What a Pyre Strike by Bird,
It was a little lucky.
It was really close,
It was because he was aiming where he would blink back as well, but he just caught him in that, you know, I'm sure he knew that there was a possibility to catch him there. Just maybe could have been avoided if things didn't align so perfectly for him to finish off that kill. VP now in a great spot to have a Seismic Crash and an Assert Dominance and an Ice Storm CC heavy ultimates to set up some plays for Akante, who likes to go after some prey that isn't so mobile, and stunning them is one way to make that possible.
Oh, absolutely. And actually, if they could wait for Vex to have his 3 time in space, they could do a really solid combo here. I mean, Ash Ult into Genosalt is really popular, but looks like they actually get picked up before they can do it. Fish getting nullified. Melted down early. Now, VP at this point, they've already lost 3. The tanks are just hoping to die on point to deny the retake.
And honestly, I can't say enough about Alex as a player. This guy has improved so dramatically since we first saw him. And he has honestly stepped up to the challenge and task and played, stats-wise, as good as any other DPS in the entire league, all season.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and he's done it while running the gambit of different characters too. He's played a little bit of everything, and he's shown that he can do it. Very few players have done that, I think, throughout the history of Paladins, like that level of flexibility, you know, across the DPS role. Ash Genos combo again, like I mentioned before. That's one way to get rid of a Moxie 5 Pip. Feels really good to see a Moxie 5 Pip die, honestly.
The one time that it happens,
yeah,
right?
exactly,
it's like
exactly.
seeing a T-Rex in real life, you know, in Jurassic Park. You're like, wow, this is unusual. I got to take advantage of this. And Alex here trying to take advantage of the situation, and he's going to get a bubble. I know they want to finish him off. This is a good spot for Ash, but it's also precarious because there's so many targets, and he doesn't know he's one of them. Evil Mojo from Tenor. That's going to settle things real quick. NIP now with a 3-0 and possibly 4-0 in Jaguar Falls.
Yeah, NIP, on their comp, this is one of the first times we've seen Torvald in PPL having, like, incredible value in terms of like 2. I'm sure he's had good games in the past, but
Yeah.
having 2 very, very strong targets, 3 actually. He can actually pocket anybody on this team. He could heal his Furia for more damage, or bubble her to keep her alive for more damage. He can bubble the Pip for more sustain that stacks with the Catalyst.
Yeah.
Bubbling the Cassie. He has so many good targets, and you can tell like how much value he's getting out of his bubbles, saving his Furia during the Inflame cast. I mean, they're really getting mileage out of him.
And they really are not afraid of anyone here on this map. And that's the way NIP have used this. It feels almost you know what's going to happen. People haven't really adjusted with it. One of the things I love that Renegades did, and there was some maybe misplaced, but off supports. You know, Tinner talked with us, Esports Weekly, that instead of going for that, you know, kind of, I think, he really just says that off supports are his kind of favorite adjustment into damage, where you need a little bit extra, but you don't need a full DPS. He likes these off supports. The Gronk is something we haven't seen. Renegades pulled it out. It actually worked decently well, but then, of course, it was not able to get the job done. But I love the ingenuity, and maybe somebody will be able to finally deal with this pit one day against NIP.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? One day they'll be able to figure it out. Once COD 3s are online, then he's
Once
only
I have
getting
kids,
only
you know.
getting 60% bonus.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's with the Cherish Shield too.
There
but,
you go.
There actually was a really cool interaction there where Fishiko was really low in main, and he used his Ice Block to give him time for the Seismic Crash cast to end. They used Seismic Crash just to save Fishiko.
Yeah.
And that ended up converting that fight for them. That was a really heads-up play by Virtus.Pro.
I think when you look at the way that VP have played it, it's been excellent in many ways. I mean, they've had good teamwork. When things are going well for them, they're going very well. And I think it's just a matter of getting on the back foot too quickly when a lot of their successes come off aggression. Let's just call it what it is. When they have kind of the step ahead of NIP are looking vulnerable. But NIP at this point have looked vulnerable to Renegades when they did that as well. When people take fights to them, they are not the same team as when they are pushing the initiative and the pace of a matchup.
Yeah, and that's why they were so dominant for so long, was because they were always that team. They had the confidence where they were just deciding every fight. They were taking every single fight on their own terms. And once teams realized that, hey, this double off tank strategy that they do kind of falters if we just walk at you. I mean, NIP, I think, Envy abused that beautifully into NIP.
Yep.
I think, wow, great void grip to stop the contest there, actually. Unfortunately for VP, NIP weren't burning any ults expecting that touch to come, but still, good for VP to still be in the game here.
Because of the Pip, and I think just in general with the Cassie as well, the Scout, the mobility, the dodge rolls, and there's just not a lot of wiggle room. I know they have comeback mechanic. It's just going to be very hard for them to lose a point fight and get back on the point. There's just too many slows. There's too many things to kind of throw them off their track. So I think they really have to take it to NIP here. They've got to win fast.
And they have multiple ways to do that too.
Yeah.
They have 3 different ults that can combo very effectively with through time and space. Seismic Crash, Ice Storm, Assert Dominance. All 3 of them, especially since most of the team only has Resilience 1, can confirm a kill if they find the target fast enough.
Well, let's see if they go for it here. Alex taking the left side. Already a few dismounts thanks to Tyra, but they're going for it. And this is going to be an easy kill. No problem. Didn't even get a chance to play. And you just feel like they're not even on the same page. It was so easy, it was so simple, and it was so direct. No one's prepared for a counter. Alex looks like he will fall there.
Saved by the Torvald.
Oh, saved by the Torvald, the bubble. Is that resilience that I see? Torvald must have been able to pop out a little earlier because it felt like that stun was...
I believe he has resilience too.
Yeah, I think that stun affected him a little less so he can get out there and save his teammate. Has resilience 1. Oh boy, those are the big deals.
Well, actually, they weren't looking at Fish. Fish might be able to touch. He tries to get through the Pyro Strike, but it touches. I don't know if he got the OT. It doesn't look like he did. Bird getting off the point to guarantee that the OT doesn't proc.
The OT doesn't proc.
Bringing us to a 3-3.
That was a smart play. We talked about that quite a bit after they witnessed that in one of our post-game moments. They like to sit here in the casting room and watch some of the games with us once they're done playing, and they were all talking about how to do that. I think Bonker was the one who was confused, and as the point tank, they were like, wait, how do you not?
Yeah.
But no, I not to throw him under the bus. He's been doing great. May not have even been him. I'm just telling a story. But they definitely were very aware that this is it's a way to secure games. And really, it's not even about that because they secured the game well before then.
Yeah.
We talked about how you have that 1 point fight chance. You get it wrong, they punish you on this map. There's no way you're getting back. Goes to show NIP lethal, and if you give them a chance, they will bite you.
Yeah, absolutely. And that Drogo's ban paid off for them. I think they looked at it and they said, this is our weakness. You know, we haven't been able to win against this. We can ban it. But VP, they just weren't willing to make that play to push the pedal to the metal.
Really interesting here. Jaguar Falls has been a staple with the pit for NIP, but they're going to have to go to another map to finish this one off, as it is all tied up here. We're going to a Game 7, so let's send it back to the desk and get everybody ready.
Game 7.
I hate Game
Unlike
7s.
the NBA Finals. We'll see how this one works out. You don't like Game 7s, though, do you, buddy?
Nope.
Why not?
Let's move on.
Shout out to St. Louis. We'll see if the Spirit is here for Virtus.Pro as they go head-to-head against one of the bigger oppositions. That, I mean, this is a big boy set straight up.
It is, and this is the, honestly, even without, it's weird in that without Genos, which seemingly would make this composition even better, it performed way cleaner than it had in the past. But it was Bittner on the Pip, Alex on the Cassie this time around. And the Furia was, honestly, in a weird way, like the missing piece, I think, because you had Bonker pocketing Alex that entire game, and you mix that with the burst that Cassie already has anyway, and then you have Bittner doing Bittner things on the Pip, and then you have an Inflame on the back end of it. This composition, top to bottom, was built to be aggressive. NIP are a roster that like to be aggressive, and Virtus.Pro just could not find their footing at any point in this one.
Exactly the way you said. The Ninjas in Pyjamas went back and they drew a game plan up, and then they executed that game plan. There was no real desync. There was nothing working against them. Virtus.Pro here, I think this is the most lost they've looked all set.
Yeah, agreed.
And maybe that's putting it the wrong way. This is the most dominant NIP look all set. And I think this is what you more expect from this organization. So when you look at Ninjas in Pyjamas doing this, I think this is a little bit more of the norm. That said, Virtus.Pro can definitely kind of bounce back here 3-3.
And Game 7, the problem is now NIP are the ones with the momentum going into Game 7. I mean, if you really start to split hairs, you look at like maps, but we're getting down to the point where the teams have already picked their favorite maps up to this point.
Oh, we have Bazaar now? Fish Market?
Bazaar is around. We'll see the maps when they bring them in a moment, but Bazaar is available. I think
Bazaar?
Fish Market, that would be Bazaar. It really would be. Fish Market maybe, but at this point, teams have already played their most comfortable map, so we're just getting down to, all right, this map is left. We kind of like this one. I'm sure the other team is good at this one. This is just Paladins at its core. You draft the best you can for any given map, and it's not like you have some sneaky thing in your pocket that you whip out. It's not like a trap card, Shadow Realm, map-wise. But it'll be exciting to watch. I think NIP do have the momentum moving into Game 7, though.
Should be interesting watching it for sure, because I think momentum is, I mean, you were talking about the science of the set when you wind up 2-2 and it just becomes a best of 3. Now we're 3-3 and it becomes a singleton. There's no such thing as a best of 1. Remove that from your vernacular. Singleton game, a single game set. We are very excited to see this one working out.
No, I am, and the problem now, again, this is all entirely map dependent. But if Virtus.Pro continue, the Torvald is now 3 for 3 today. I mean, it's not, and Kresnik pointed this out well. Torvald's had sort of a mixed bag. I mean, he's definitely ban worthy.
Yes.
And NIP have shown that here today. But in the past, he's been brought out of ban prison and just kind of fallen flat. So what we've seen today.
It's not the past. It's fine. It's just not the past. It's the present.
No, I know.
And the future looks bad if you don't ban Torvald.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm on my box right now. I'm on my box right now, and I'm angry because it is 3-3, and all three victories came from leaving Torvald up. Listen, I know I am not the oldest analyst here. I know I don't have all the stripes on my shoulders, but I can watch the game, and I can see this correlation versus causation. Ban Torvald.
I mean, we have not had 2 wins in a row by either team up to this point. So
Torvald hasn't played in any game back-to-back either.
No, that's true. Well, we're gonna get to see how they respond. Unreal. All right. Well, never mind. So that's smart.
That is the baseline for smart. You have gotten into the class. Now you can take your test. This is the placement exam. Have you banned Torvald? No, you don't get to come through. Yes, here you are, Game 7, boys.
And Drogos, that's a good response here. So bizarre, as many puns as we can make about the map name, it is an interesting balance as far as the way that the teams like to play it. Mobility tends to be sort of king on this map because of the way the point is. It's really a sunken in point. You have these side skirmishes going on around the outside, and then you eventually just leave a couple tanks just on their own island in the middle while the skirmishes are happening outside.
You ever see a living room built in the 70s? They have this sunken.
Oh yeah, right.
Like this sunken conversation pit.
Yeah.
That's kind of what Bazaar is.
Oh, that's.
You've got this sunken conversation pit that is
like
the point.
2 steps that go down into it. Right.
And it's also one of the larger points around. Like it's this big square.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious to see what kind of choices NIP or Virtus.Pro will go here. Both tanks banned out by Virtus.Pro. NIP looking at the Drogos and discussing right now, basically if they should ban the Khan,
right? Atlas, maybe. One of the two is going to be open. It's been Atlas that's been banned out, and it is going to continue to be that way. So if you look at flanks, though, there's lots to look at.
The only reason I even bring up the fact that they might ban the Khan is because Virtus.Pro's playstyle. They've worked so well with the aggressive tanks, and I guess Atlas kind of fits that bill. But we've seen the Khan be a little bit more powerful. So with Atlas banned, Virtus.Pro now thinking about it, big guy, little head, should they lock it in?
I think they should, because Puleule likes Khan. He likes the all the aspects of Khan. It fits into his play style perfectly, and it's been comfortable today. It has not been the reason they've won or lost. It looks like it's not going to be the Khan, at least. Maybe bouncing back and forth. I do like the Eevee pickup, though, because on this map, the Eevee Mave duels is all we've seen up to this point. We haven't seen Mave at all yet today. Out of 7 games, we've not seen Mave once. So taking away the Eevee while the Drogos is already gone, if you want some of that mobility, I mean, there are champions with mobility, but they're not as high priority anymore as Eevee. I mean, Maeve obviously has fallen out of favor with these 2 teams at least. We still have another set to go.
We've seen her recently, though.
Right, we have.
Last week.
But it's today. We're not talking about
The student has become the master. I will concede to you, absolutely. Commissioner Coop looking on there, his boots on the ground.
Form up and follow me in.
I heard y'all want to float. Shout out to my 4 A-Shop Rock fans that got that one. Eevee, the first pick, and then Khan, big guy, little head, and Ash with the big old flag. We'll see how this one works out for NIP. 2 very aggressive tanks. Neither of them really Virtus.Pro will be happy to see across the way.
No, I think what we've seen at least out of the first 3 is Virtus.Pro are highly prioritizing the remaining mobility with Drogos and Eevee being the top 2 in this set, whereas on the opposite side, NIP are prioritizing staying power and aggression on that midpoint because Ash, as aggressive as she can be, she's also very tanky. The shielding and the shoulder bash provides a lot of utility as far as being able to stay alive. Barrack as well does some of the same. So Virtus.Pro getting the Barrack and the Tyra yet again, though. Didn't work out last time. Geno's still on the board. Wouldn't be surprised if NIP go that route.
What I like about the Khan and the Ash as well is Ash is absolutely a point tank, right? You have the ultimate, and that's absolutely going to be what allows you to do that. But she's definitely one of the more aggressive point tanks when you look at her compared to like Anara, right? She's all offense. Knowing that Virtus.Pro want to play that sort of aggressive tank style, stripping that away, I think is really intelligent. So Khan and Ash, what kind of support will they have? Will they be able to grab the Genos, or will they look for the DPS here? Genos, of course, would allow some damage amp to answer back what Tyra's doing across the way.
I mean, I don't want to say they need to, but they almost need to, because Tyra, Barrack, Genos, I mean, even if you just take Eevee out of that conversation.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to see Genos Cassie here, honestly. That's really
what
what
would be smart.
I want to see Genos Cassie. Genos for the damage amp, Cassie for the anti-Eevee.
I think that's a smart way to go about it. If she builds Wrecker as well. You talk about not having stripes, Tom, but you're predicting what they're bringing to the table here. They get the Genos, they get the Cassie, excuse me. So she brings, just like you said, a little anti-Eevee, but also she has some shield break potential if they go Wrecker on her, especially against Anara as well. That percentage damage increase from the Cassie if they go big game is enough to deal with this Barrack, enough to deal with this Anara. Virtus.Pro going Ying has kind of been their answer to the Genos. Damba hasn't really been in their favor today. I think Damba would have been good with an Inara Barrack for some extra staying power. Ying is just fine, though. I don't hinge their draft on the Ying pick. I think it's fine.
I like the Ying pick, and honestly, you're going to call me out for this, but Ying Inara is actually what I had for Virtus.Pro finishing off this draft. I wouldn't have called the Grover. Okay,
wow,
you got me there. I wouldn't have called the Grover.
Ferocity.
But I knew the Ying and the Inara were coming. Ying is how Virtus.Pro have kind of dealt with this in the past. We'll see the Inara show up, but Grover, a very interesting look. So Genos obviously going Luminary, but still Grover. This is definitely a double support comp. Don't get it wrong. Genos will be able to deliver some extra damage, but this is a double support comp, and Catsy is their pure big D.
And Bittner loves sort of the off support, and Pip is much the same, but Ferocity Grover, if that's the route he goes, does provide some supplemental healing, but those axes from long range can really do some chunk damage. They finally bring out some spice here. I'm excited to see Game 7.
It's spicy. Let's see how it all lines up. Rain Day and Kresnik one more time.
Thank you, fellas. Looking good out there, and obviously the draft's looking good for both teams. A little bit of a different kind of choice in the element of the Drogo's ban and then the Eevee first pick. High priorities, high blaster priorities as well on this map, where people still figuring out what is the best, but a lot of confidence in these drafts you expressed for both teams.
Yeah, I think so. I think both teams are probably pretty happy with what they ended up with. I said in the green room before, like, Con Ash is NIP, bread and butter. I mean, that was what led them to their momentum, their huge streak they were on. Getting that on this map, where they're both pretty strong, I can say they're probably pretty confident, but point tanks on this map are also really powerful. They can put on a lot of damage while contesting the objective.
And Ferocity is going to be Tinner, and that is going to be his off tank. We talked about not off tank, off support. When he prefaces, we need a little more damage, we want a little something else, he likes to go for these supports, and it was the Pip and the game prior, and now it's going to be the Grover. There's going to be a ton of damage, and it's also a nice counter to the Eevee. If he hits it with a crippling axe, things are going to be problem city, but Pule and the rest of Virtus.Pro collapse onto NIP, and Diggy Dog just goes down.
Yeah, the beauty of having double point tank on this map, double main tank, is that you can lock down both lanes. Like, if you know where they want to go, if you put your off tank in the way, they can kind of get ran over. But Pule was able to delay them long enough where they just instantly melted Diggy. Now Punker's in the danger zone too. He has to shout for himself, but it's barely going to be enough. He barely gets away thanks to the double healing, and he's still so low.
So much damage. I mean, when that Hunter's Mark goes on, you could tell. 1,063. It is just ridiculous, and it's not easy to fight into. And the shoulder bash, 90% damage reduction, but being in the fire for longer than you have to is never a good look for anyone against Tyra. 81%
Diggy's still learning about the windowsills.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, he had a little. It's new. We'll give you this one, Diggy, but next time.
Exactly, and that's one where you think maybe there's a little pressure put on VP. It's the same formula. Virtus.Pro press the gas. They go in on NIP, and now NIP don't look like the same team when they're on the back foot.
What VP did that mid was they just had Pule hold them down. They left this one lane open, and they said, come this way. As soon as they rounded the corner to get onto Pule, Fishiko came in and pinched them and completely punished their aggression. They know Nip just wants to go in. They're like, we win when we are confident. Let's go.
Yes.
And that was a terrible accent. I'm so sorry I put you through it.
Who was that?
I don't even know. Thank you, production, for agreeing.
Borat? Was that Borat?
This is why I'm not a voice actor. This is why I play games and don't speak. Fishiko getting out, though. VP looking really good in this area. There's a couple things you have to be very mindful for.
Yeah.
You have to be mindful of that little balcony to the left. I'm pointing. I don't know why. The balcony on the left that you can leave the spawn from.
Yeah.
DPSs on the defending team can actually do a ton. A huge seismic crash actually coming out. So much damage, and Doe is blocking them. Doe is blocking them in there. He's using the firebomb now. Ash barely even managed to bash out. Doe helped them confirm so much damage. But
these guys are feeling good, man.
Yeah, they're feeling confident. They like this map.
They like this map. They like this lineup. They like their comp.
And it definitely shows.
It's the same. It's the same thing. And Hakate on a 13 streak. No wonder he forgot he had a firebomb, because he's killing so many people. It reset without him realizing it. He's got those elimination reductions in the loadout, as you can expect at this stage. It's going to zone out, and he's going to crossfire for the vibes?
It was safety. They used the illusory rift as well, actually, but Again, those are ults that charge pretty quickly. I mean, Tyra's, think about it. Think about the streak he's on.
Yeah.
Think about the damage he's doing.
Yeah. He should charge that up, no problem. But it is a little bit like triple locking, the old front door there. One or two might get the job done as well.
When I worked in retail, every single time I would leave, I would take 3 steps out and I'd be like, did I lock the door? Every single time, without fail.
Because the worst situation, your responsible guy can tell is, you're saying, what happens if I don't lock the door?
Exactly.
And it's so strong, Hekate's performance, that even in between rounds, he continues to.
It is unstoppable. That's a new build, right?
Yeah, it absolutely is. That's a legendary we haven't released to the public yet, but we're giving Hekate a chance to test drive. So much damage, so much pressure, and you know what? Hekate, with that Hunter's Mark up, has made a big difference. But this time, NIP are the ones getting aggressive. This time, things change. Joseph left by himself. He's going to try to buy time, but Hekate is going to go down. He's getting chased. Alex finds that.
Do actually manages to kill Vex while delaying the point, which could make this retake a little easier. We'll have to see how long he lives. Yeah, that was just him. Oh, sorry, Bird. Excuse me. He was just buying time, right? Like, if you're going to die in that situation, you want to just minimize cap time that they get as much as possible, especially since they have double comeback. What an overpower on Fish. That is going to make this really hard for VP. He was probably the best person to touch the objective, and he's out of the game now.
Yeah, at this point, they can hold left and right, and it's going to be very difficult. Up the middle, though, that's where they're going to try to go. Body blocks attempted. He's going to get there. He's going to get there.
Barely
Tries to crash. This is good.
Oh,
no, he can't get it. Vex. I think he hits a little bit of the healing just a little bit too late. Now Fish is back. He's going to touch as well. Tinner, can he stay alive? He's important for the squad. 800 health, but healing back up thanks to his own passive. Bonker, he's also getting kills. And here's the Dome Shield. They're going to stabilize. This will buy time for Josephs to get back onto the point. And what can they do with 2 front lines?
Not much, considering the rest of the team is getting just absolutely melted by the damage from NIP. Doe thinking about it, but I would not go in if I were you, buddy.
Yeah. They're fine. A defense here turns into a 3-1, and obviously you're able to close it out in the next round. But NIP, they start aggressive, they win. It feels like it's a very simple equation as to who's coming out on top of these fights.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, I think one of the bigger missteps that fight was at the very start. I wasn't positive this is how it happened, but Fish ended up under the lane they were pushing from. And they were so focused on that lane that he got kind of caught out. In the last mid, he was playing his distance and crossed in to pinch the tanks. They tried to push the gas pedal, change up how their mid went, and it kind of bit them in the butt.
And you know what, honestly, I think that trying to do something different on the second round, especially if NIP are good at adapting, it's nice. It keeps them on their toes, but this time you're right. It just didn't feel like it was the same level of pressure. Maybe a little more patience, even though aggressiveness is the name of the game. Doesn't mean you can't have some tact every now and then.
Yeah, VP's like, the reason that first mid worked was because they caught their aggression.
Right.
And they decided they wanted to be the aggressive ones here. Ooh, actually, a little overpower miss by Bonker, maybe trying to get a snowball here. Pule barely, almost made it out. Ferocity Axis from Tenor saying no to that.
Yeah, and I love the through time and space options Bird has right now, especially on this corridor style map. There's going to be a lot of opportunities for him to make some big plays, but he's holding on to it. Still plenty more to go, and NIP just looking to tie this one up as of now. If they do not push, it will cede another point to VP, and not only put it to game point, but set point for the final round afterwards. So a lot on the line. Firing with the Star Splitter, he's just going to back off into safety and give another Astro Mark over to Diggy Dog.
Yeah, this actually, NIP's ability to push this point is going to go almost solely, I think, on the amount of times they've scrimmed this map, they've practiced on this map. Because there's a lot of things about this push that are very different from other maps, like the instant way that the defense can get into your backline, and the relative safety coming from the side from the balcony. And you can see they already caught Diggy trying to come through that angle. Fish coming through that way to pick Bittner as well. NIP were not ready for that fight.
And it just doesn't feel like this is a map you would expect, at least the way the pace of this fight has been going, to turn out the way it went for Virtus.Pro. A push seems more than unlikely, but it doesn't mean it's impossible. Good dismounts onto Diggy, but Bonker still up and alive. His through time and space. Sorry, his overpower was really one of the crucial elements to stalling out Fisheko's retake, but now Bird is isolated, and this is the problem with a map like this. The way that they're able to use it, nice crippling axe there, the throw, shutting down another blink, but he gets the last laugh. Fishy with a kill, and another point, game point, set point now for VP.
Yeah, and that's crazy thinking about, you know, but this map, they've done their homework, and not banning it, maybe NIP kind of settling into their usual 2 bans might have been a mistake here if they didn't think they were ready to play Bazaar.
This is, it doesn't feel bizarre. I feel like it's weird whenever an IP are about to lose. it just feels like something's gone wrong in the universe. It's just like you're finding out this hidden truth that's been kept from you for many years, and it's making you think about all of your life differently.
You found something hidden with the U.S. Constitution,
Yeah.
and it's like,
wait a second.
Nip can't play Bizarre.
Stealing is legal. Oh my God! What? It says it right here.
I didn't see National Treasure. Did you? Is
Yeah,
that what?
no.
Is that really what the ending
Nicolas
was?
Cage found that one, and he left it wherever he found it, unfortunately.
Unfortunate for him and the rest of the United States. Let's see how VP actually looks like NIP playing a little bit slower. Oh, getting the pull on Hekate. That's so much damage out of the fight. Wall coming in to try to save him, but it's too little too late.
It is, but honestly, maybe not the worst thing. Hekate takes so much attention. Obviously, you don't have the Hunter's Mark, but Fishy is alive, and he finds Alex, and he admittedly is the best character to be alive to snowball the rest of this fight. He's got mobility, he's got the Ice Storm, he locks down Bonker, trying to get above the shield, but at least he can burn it down, and there it is, the stun attempt, but he's going to get out of it. And Diggy maybe wastes that element just to be able to get him, but doesn't come away with the prize.
Fantastic cooldown usage actually by Fish there, and now he's alive, and every ultimate actually is gone for NIP. So VP have a bit of advantage here. Oh, great shots by Alex to find Fish. We'll have to see how they do this. Dome shield coming in a little too late.
Oh, he got it off!
Gets the bowling ball off, and now it's an even fight. We'll have to see how the focus goes. Two people trying to dive Hekate in the backline. Pooley coming for the peel. Can they focus down Alex?
Oh,
yes, they can, and Pooley lives
God.
until now. Still pulls them back. Mark onto Diggy.
Why?
He's still trying to pressure Hekate. Fish is coming back in. Hekate's got to hide. He managed to actually get the kill. Diggy gets the kill onto Hekate. Couldn't run far enough. This fight's still going back and forth, but VP's actually getting point time now still.
I can't believe it. Tenor has been the real issue and such good prioritization for NIP, but Hekate spends half that fight trying to trade with Diggy. He's just got too much health and too much healing. 85% here for Ninjas, and climbing up and counting. Puleole will get back onto the point. Overtime will tick through, and all of the damage coming through is important. Another rocket boots to just buy a second, if not more. But the double kill from Bonker will secure it. It's going to be 3-2. They are not done quite yet.
NIP are feeling pressured right now. They are definitely feeling under pressure. And VP, like, I'm sure they're very sad about how the way that fight went, but they're looking at it, they say, even if we lose this point, even if they counter us, which they're probably confident they won't because of how that last defense went, but even if they do, we still had that 3-3 fight. That fight was so close. We're learning, we're adapting. We can learn faster than that. That's probably, I'm assuming that's what's going through their
You're
heads
right. In
now.
round one, they did not play around the overpower because it wasn't up. And now, every overpower fight, they have found a crucial target, a crucial DPS, and it has shifted the dynamic into the favor of Ninjas. But it wasn't
It was still a close fight, yeah.
It was still savable, and little things in that moment. I think Fishy target prioritization for me, as well as Hekate when he was alive. I don't think you have to, I think, ignore the Ashe there. I think it's a losing battle. If your damage goes somewhere else, maybe you can find a trade at least, but Dicky staying alive, getting a free kill onto the Tyra who's already beleaguered, it just was, it was too good of value for NIP.
Yeah, and you can actually, right now, you can see NIP's adaptation to how they think this map will go. Bird staying way further back and kind of watching that choke point they can flank from, and keeping themselves anchored on the back, but it doesn't matter. They try. VP is still just walking in. They're getting a bunch of trades here. Fish go with a double with one shot, I think, and now they're just going to stagger out Bird here. Bird's going to try to go kill himself in the spawn door.
Yeah. And they're going to get the kill for it. Indeed. He says, I will choose my own fate, and then they say, okay, fine. We'll kill you, but only because you made us.
All that really matters is that you chip him, like right before he dies. As long as you get the credit, it's fine.
Yeah, there it is. Got to keep that bankroll
exactly
constantly growing, you know what I'm saying?
Especially since NIP won the last 2-point fights. Now, that's a credit advantage that
it is.
It's not so small that you can't shake a stick at. You know? Like,
you're right.
It's really solid. 600 extra credits.
It's better than a sharp stick in the eye, as my mom would always tell me.
Did that ever happen to you?
No.
Well, probably because she warned you something, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's always just a way to be grateful for where you're at, because even where you are, it probably could get worse if there was a sharp stick in your eye. So at least that's not happening.
Yeah, VP, even though NIP, even though they're down 3-2, I'm sure they don't want a sharp stick in any of their eyes either.
Could be worse. That's the whole point. So be grateful for where you're at. And I think right now, Fishy getting traded by Bird, not what he would have liked, but he picks up a kill on the way out, and it will essentially stop this push. 3-2, and they'll have another opportunity, potentially another 2 opportunities, even if they lose this point, to capture again. But NIP, if they do capture here, will have a chance to push and win the game.
Yeah, and VP, they really have to have learned from the last couple of mid-fights. They need to be ready for this overpower.
What do they have? What was the learning that needed to take place?
They need to be ready to pounce when the overpower hits, I think. I think they need to have some people a little bit closer and willing to get on that con, because you can trade the con if you're faster. If your team has good enough focus fire, you can do it. if Hecate marks the con early, that makes things a lot easier for them to do the focus fire. They're just going to have to see where the con is, and hopefully they can adjust their positioning fast enough.
I think the early pressure from, like you said, the con, so crucial to find a way around. Itemization, can we take a look at that one more time to see if there's just been anything picked up? A few resiliences. Resilience 3 by Hecate. He does not want any measure of CC, and especially when you look at the roots, when you look at the knockbacks, the disengages.
He wants to walk away from the
Double
dominance,
grips. He wants to walk away as soon as possible if things do happen. Bird here through time and space could make a big play. Will he go for it? He's that kind of player. He's been doing it for a while. Might line somebody up. Here's the Ice Storm as well. Up and down. Hecate, he walks away from it, but not from the damage. Tenor finds the early kill.
Yeah, Seismic Crash actually coming in, stunning Tenor on the point. Not enough follow-up coming from it, though. Manages to get off the Whirlwind. Fishigo still alive and wreaking havoc, though, trying to catch Tenor on the way out. Wormhole's out. Doe losing the trade on the point, unfortunate for them. Pule also getting knocked away from his Dome Shield, and it looks like VP is going to be losing this fight.
Yeah, Bonker is finding too much value there, and they have to keep Fishy alive. He's so crucial. Bonker, does he whiff that? He does. He misses the overpower. That's the moment they were looking for. NIP still have a semi-version of the fast cap here, being down by a point. It's 82% counting. Dosip's just got to stay there. Body blocks, they are possible. 96-99, overtime has ticked away. What can they do from here? No ultimates to utilize.
Looks like nothing at this point. Now Pule's just trying to charge his ultimate. This round's going to go to NIP. I think pretty solid focus fire from NIP. They focused on the right targets. Hecate got, oh yeah, Ferocity, you can't. You don't want to stay in the open with that. But Hecate got focused down pretty early. I don't think they kept Pule where he needed to be to stop them from getting that done. Diggy just waited under and came up with the assert dominance. They weren't ready. He kind of pierced their defense, and that's what made them fall apart.
Great stuff from both teams. It truly does feel like this is going to come down to a 3-3.
3-3.
With an even point fight. Yeah, another 3-3. We've got another map. Why not get another 3-3?
We're getting another game type. This is basically just King of the Hill now.
Yeah, exactly.
If it does come down to that.
Well, you know, you can say that I've seen some staggers in my life. I don't think I've seen a stagger that long with that many people around.
Yeah, I mean, Ying kind of allows that really well.
I mean, I don't think I've seen a stagger that long.
Yeah,
with that many people.
Ying enables it a lot because you can just kite around the illusions and nullify a lot of the damage.
That was pretty funny there. Just trying to buy as much time as possible without all of the 5 members, so they have a 5v4 advantage on defense. But they've got to be careful. You know, that means you can't forward zone. That means you're not anticipating where people are coming from. That means you're now in more of a reactive state. And now you're the one with a disadvantage here. Fishy forced to bail out.
They do manage to force the Whirlwind.
They do. They do. But is that crucial? He'll probably get it back, Krez.
Yeah, but maybe he'll have to spend it again. I don't know. They don't have it for a dive. If they want to do an aggressive engagement, now it's out of the way. Although Fishko stayed a little bit too long. Pule has to come save him. Looks like he barely manages to. No, he doesn't. Diggy gets the finish up. And they're using assert dominance. They're ready for this conversion.
They need this. Diggy is low. Bird finds another kill. Overpower as well. NIP are trying to take this win. They have battled to Game 7, and now they are 25% of the way towards home. But Hecate, with a little bit of a flank here, throws the firebomb. This damage from Tenor is huge. Bird hasn't used his ultimate in what is 2.5 rounds, and Dosip's finally out. Will they use ultimates to try to stabilize?
Yeah, maybe. It's hard to say. They actually bought some time because they overpowered Doe onto the cart. Pule diving the backline, manages to pick up Tenor.
Got one.
Yep, that's really, really solid for them. They're going to try to save ultimates if they can. Diggy having to dash away now. He won't have them to test if they want to refight it now.
Watch out.
Pule getting picked up by Bonker's aggression with Cassie and Khan up there on the main. Fishko diving onto Bird, forcing out some aggression. Gets healed by the life exchange. And this could be good for them. They have to use the illusory to try to keep the rest of the team alive, but Claw 3 is not going to make it as effective.
You need the firebomb here. You have to somehow stop this off. Overtime's about to take away, and the crossfire to preempt it. They are winning in Forest. The trade of ultimates. Virtus.Pro still have the Ice Storm. They still have the Dome Shield, but Dosips, he falls. Bonker, Tenor find a couple kills. Finally, they get Bird, but will it be enough? Fishy has to get there. Alex is on an 11 streak. Big shot, 156, but he misses the crucial one. If he goes down, and he does, this could be NIP pushing it in.
Just Vex, but it's Hecate here now. Hecate managing to get one onto Alex. Dome Shield coming in. This could do it. Hecate dying. It's all onto Pule. They whirlwind off of the cart. Bolt tanks in his face. He has his reset still. He might still be able to get through this, but the grip stops him from getting it. Pulls it off. Still alive. Doe makes it back into the cart. Ice Storm to stop Diggy from getting that 90% damage reduction. Can they focus him down in time? Yes, they can. Doe still finding a target on the point. Walls himself off, forcing them in. Hecate needs to find the angle on him. Gets Bittner. Bird still putting down damage onto Hecate, but it's just enough. Insane staggers, insane sustain. 16 sustain, almost every ultimate used.
Oh, my God. That was, 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 that was
That was a
Talk
an insane
about
fight.
laying your cards
and now,
on the table.
And now we have to talk about another fight after doing that. Maybe another 2.
And I just can't believe it. We've got 2 games, counting for 1. We've got 3 threes, and we've got multiple versions of that. We've got multiple fights within the 3
This
threes.
is game 8.
That was 1 point fight, but that was really not 1 point fight.
No, absolutely
That was
not.
like 20-point fights. Let's be real.
Yeah, that was crazy. This is the longest Paladin set ever because this is the 8th game. Is this actually
It
the
probably
longest
is.
Paladin set of all time?
It probably is at this point.
And I would not want to be anywhere else for it, to be honest. This
Yeah,
has been a
man.
crazy game so far as we go into this last mix fight. Looks like similar positioning. Digging not under. He can't do that assert dominance play again. He's trying to charge it. He needs to do damage for it, so now they know it's coming.
And this is important here. The seismic crash coming through. They get Diggy Dog. Oh, and they get Alex. Big kill from Puleole. Diggy Dog, what can he do? He's trying to create space, but he realizes he's low. He jumps up, but he doesn't come down. Knocked out of the sky thanks to Visheko. What else can this Winter Witch conjure up to send Virtus.Pro into the winter side?
We'll have to see. Fishigo still putting down damage. So much splash, getting 2 picks. They've won this fight really confidently, and they've been getting cap time the whole time. The thing is, they have to focus Diggy right now. When you're a team in this position,
Got him!
What a shot! When you're in this position, you're thinking, what can touch the point? Who is our biggest threat? And right now, who can touch? It's Diggy. And you know what? I don't see him in front. He was hiding on the side. I don't know if they saw him.
Big one.
He's completely full health. They're going to assert dominance on the point. He's
That's
contesting
fine.
now in the back. They're going to kill Hakate with the overpower. While Diggy's contesting, they still...
Oh, they
pushed
got
off of
him!
it. That's
Are you
2
kidding
picks.
me?
Oh my god, the zoning complete collapse by VP. They're turning to burn Diggy. His ult just ran out. They're not going to kill him.
Are you kidding?
They get Pule too. Doe has to die on the point. Whirlwind comes out too. The thing is here though, they can still get a retake because of the point time. Diggy got by. That was just a zoning failure.
Oh my God.
The thing about this map, the under pathways on the side are so important. If you're not watching them, it's free. And if you're holding upper, you can't see them. They can just slip right past you, and that's what happened.
But you know, it doesn't feel like that's going to happen here because Fishy goes down. Tanner finds the kill. Are you kidding me? Virtus.Pro, is it collapse?
It could be.
Have they
Doe's still
given
heading in.
themselves over to this? NIP are trying to take control. It's 84%. Dosif's just walking in
Doe's
through
coming
time
in
and
from under.
space.
He's
He can't
low.
quite get a kill.
They need to get the focus
oh
fire.
My
Oh,
God,
it's an absolute
it's
collapse.
NIP shutting down the dreams of Virtus.Pro. It makes you cry, Krez. But gallant effort from the Ninjas to turn it back around and claim victory. They will not take another loss, at least not today. Game 7 goes their way.
What a game 7 it was too, and that really came down to map knowledge and Nip adapting, right? VP had the push at the end solid. They knew what to do there, but the mid fights, the zone, that's something they still have to work on a map as fresh as this.
And it was their map as well. They only lost 1 map pick of theirs, and
It was the one that mattered.
it was the one that mattered. Unfortunate for Virtus.Pro and the fans around. It was a hard-fought match. It was the utmost entertainment as far as Paladins, and it was a fantastic showcase of what these teams can do and what you should expect to see, and many more things like this at the MSI. But unfortunately for VP, and very fortunately for NIP, it goes their way. What a tremendous way to start our day, Thursday here for the PPL. But oh my goodness gracious, we've talked enough about it. Thanks, Krez. Great cast, buddy. We'll see you on the desk in a bit, but let's send it back to our boys on the desk now to break it down.
Mama, there goes that man. Fantastic stuff out of Virtus.Pro and NIP, but at the end of the day, all is where it should be. Ninjas in Pajamas take the win.
I've had a moment. I've collected myself. That was absurd.
That was
absolutely
nuts.
absurd.
That was nuts.
That was the longest conversion defense I've maybe ever seen, and then the longest set in general I've ever seen. Looking at the 100k damage, only the supports were not above 100k damage this game. Everyone was so close.
Watching it come down to the wire even, right? That last point. I mean, listen, we're pros, right? We sit here and, like, even the exciting parts, we're just, like, taking notes and looking at it. We're standing up looking at that last point and that last capture. Just, this is what you ask for out of good Paladins. You just want to see this.
You're right. That's exactly what you look for. Looking back, though, the healing from Vex was above 200,000. Bird was at about 130,000 that game, but Bittner supplied the other 130,000. So, like, that's a smart pick. I mean, Bittner was doing damage in this game, but also supplementing some extra healing because Bird on the Genos is not going to keep up with Vex on the Ying. So being able to supplement with a little more healing, a little extra damage, is absurd. Bonker had a great game up to this point. The overpowers, they all hit right where they needed to. And on a map just like this, where the center point is so important, and it's all about staying power. When you have the aggressive Khan being able to stay and overpower, that's all the staying power you need, and Bonker played it to a T.
Stay. Overpower.
Yes!
I like it. It's a good one. Dolson here dishing out the dirty ones. And
that's right.
This one's going to go the way of NIP, as we said. I mean, just this. Normally I stand here and, you know, I'm used to hearing Evan or Nick say dominant performance by NIP or unrivaled performance by NIP. Not the thing that I can say. NIP looked really good, but Virtus.Pro along the way gave them a lot to deal with. So by no means dominant, by no means, you know, unsurmountable, but a win nonetheless. And at the end of the day, what was really impressive was the way that they took that last point as well, watching them with a crafty strategy and just come right on top. That's why they're staying up on top here for the standings as far as we're concerned in the PPL. And
if you look at that last point fight, just a quick point, there was the Fasheko flank on the Eevee that could have won the match. Instead, they fish out Fasheko. They know where he's coming from. They kill him off. And that was all she wrote. They took the point, no retake in this case. I feel like Virtus.Pro have to be the best 6-6 -1 map differential team here. I mean, I don't know what to make it. I mean, they were so close to beating NIP today, who are 11-1, and they're in 5th place at 6-6. I mean, I don't know what to make of it other than what we've harped on. I don't know how many different ways you can say any given week any team can surprise you, but that's what we saw here today. I mean, despite NIP still coming out on top, Virtus.Pro played the match of their lives today. I'm worried now if I'm Na'Vi playing them tomorrow.
Virtus.Pro kind of similar to Renegades in the fact that they will stand up against a stronger team. At the end of the day, I think Virtus.Pro a little bit more stronger on the back line. They provided a lot to go up against NIP, but NIP still wind up on top. We got a couple of members there to talk about how just well they did in the last match.
What a set, guys. I mean, the first 8-game set of the PPL at the end of the day. I want to start with a unique question, Diggy Dog. What is the one thing you are most proud of that you did in that set, and what is the most thing that you are ashamed of having done in that set to let it go so long?
Well, I think the best thing I was most proud of is that very last point fight. Like, I got through it undetected, and then I got my ult off, and they panicked so much. Like, they had no idea what to do. They were so split, and that's the reason we came back. The worst thing, I was kind of feeding in the beginning of that map, to be honest.
I was going to say, there were a lot of those.
Like, I was actually feeding in the first part of that game.
That was brutal, man. The tire marks, the Eevee kind of from out of nowhere bird for you. You know, you've been around the scene a long time. You've seen your fair share of 7-game sets. How does this one stack up against all the other sets you've played in your career?
I don't know. It wasn't too bad. I definitely know there's a lot of, especially back in the day when we played longer tournaments and then you had multiple best-of-7s back-to-back, then it gets really rough. But when it's just one set, you know, when you're playing 2 sets a week, sometimes only 1, then it's not too bad if you get a full best-of-7. Like, you still have energy towards the end.
Do we continue to see this meta evolve? I have to say, well, maybe it was partially because you guys weren't here, but things stagnated a little bit in the last 2 weeks, but, you know, seeing some Xin, some Torval, we're starting to see some more variety, and Tyra and Vivian playing a role as well, not necessarily in this set, but are we going to see things continue to change through this week and into the last week of PPL?
I don't know. The picks right now are really strong, mainly because Atlas like enables a lot of things, so you kind of have to bend him over Torvalds. That's why Torvalds getting through. Well, that's how VP feel anyway. But
all right, guys, congratulations. That was an absolute war, but you got the W at the end of the day. Guys, don't go anywhere. We're going to throw it to a quick little break, and when we're back, Kanga versus Na'Vi.
Young's grad.
Paladins Premier League. Brought to you by Evil Mojo, Hi-Res Studios, INAP, Respawn, SteelSeries, Alienware, and Skillshot.